Hello everyone and welcome to State of the Realm, where apparently being at 15% volume now blows all of our eardrums out. I'm actually going to cut the music a little bit. I don't know what groove music is doing, but that is not an acceptable volume. Anyway, this week we're going to be talking about the world first race for Sigmascape Savage. It was already done when we did the show last week. Now Sly's actually been in the raid and doesn't have to stay quiet the whole time while he tries not to spoil himself. We could talk a little bit more about the fights, and we also brought on a special guest to do so. But first, I am one of your hosts, Michael, Mr. Happy Poverum. Of course, joining me is Slyh, a.k.a. Slythefox, a.k.a. Slyakagreyfox, a.k.a. my boy Blue. How you doing?
Doing good. Go Canes.
What? Oh, okay. Cocaine. I thought you said cocaine. I was like, Slyh, demonetized already.
You said it.
Well, now it's demonetized.
Thank you, Happy. Yeah, I can talk up to a little bit of B4.
A little bit?
I mean, yeah, we did meme pools.
Well, hey, listen, meme pools go a long way, so don't short yourself on that one, Slyh. And on top of that, we brought on a special guest. It's not the special guest who challenged me to a rap battle last week. He's not able to make it here, and I'll cover that in a little bit. But we have...
Rip Taco Bell.
Yeah, no Taco Bell for him anymore. He missed his opportunity. Joining us this week from the world first group in Elysium, the group called Wheelchair Emoji, is Keonu. Keo.
Hey.
I just call him Keo, so saying Keonu there was super unnatural.
Hello.
Keo,
how you doing,
doing?
Yo, I'm doing great. Thanks
I
for
hope
having
so.
me.
World first? You did it.
Yo, I was so excited. I was like shaking for days afterwards. It's great.
Sounds like you're still shaking now. You're just like, oh.
Could you feel your feet?
I could not feel my feet.
Okay.
I can't escape anything where there's Elysium members. Fold somehow gets brought up. I can't get away from it.
You always had to bring it up.
I didn't this time though. Why
Why
am I not on the video?
One day.
Dude, there's so many technical issues. I'm not in the video for some reason. It's just Dwayne.
You are. You're. It's The Rock.
Watch this. Whoa. It just didn't want to include one of my video programs just crashed apparently, and it didn't want to work. So that's 3 technical errors in one intro. Somehow we've managed that. It's a whole new world record. Oh man. Thank you for joining us this week, Keo.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks for inviting me. Happy to be
Layla was
here.
supposed to join us too, but he forgot something very important today. I think personally, last week in the post show, I made him a deal that if he wrote a diss track about me, I would personally have Taco Bell sent to his house via the Postmates app. And he's not here, so I can only assume that he's scared.
Keo, do you like Taco Bell?
I love Taco Bell. I haven't had Taco Bell in a long time though.
Okay, all right. So you're saying that, but you don't actually know if you still like it because you haven't had it in a long time.
I mean, why would that change? Why would my taste for Taco Bell suddenly disappear?
Because you grew a heart.
You had real tacos.
You've had real tacos. That could also play a role. I'm just gonna, you know what? Just for the sake of consistency, you don't like Taco Bell. All right. I don't need more Taco Bell talk on the stream. Thank you for bringing it up, Slyh.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Great. Now you can go to Hooters while you're at it.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. All right. So this week we're going to be talking exclusively about Sigmascape Savage because we could only give very brief thoughts on it last Friday because we were trying to cover all of the patch's first impressions. And considering we have a rating expert, one who now finally after all this time has a world first under his belt, we're going to get into it. So Keo, first of all, before we go into each fight, and I guess what the process was for progressing on it and getting through all of it in what was 16 hours total. How did you feel about Sigmascape overall as someone who also did hardcore prog in Deltascape?
Overall, I was really happy that they sort of incorporated the mechanical gauntlet. That's sort of the progression from Gordius to Midas was just like mechanical gauntlets increased a lot, and Deltascape felt a little slow in comparison. So like managing to throw more mechanics at the same time at you from different angles without dramatically ramping up the difficulty was a really big success, I think, of Sigmascape.
One big thing I want to ask you about, now we'll cover it, I guess, a little bit in detail when we get there. Neo, I'll call him Neo Kefka, just for consistency's sake, Neo X-Death. As a healer, how did you feel about those encounters? Because I see a lot of people from the outside really afraid to heal the Neo Kefka fight, even though they may have done Neo X-Death.
I mean, it's daunting when you first get in there, and like when you don't know where your buttons are going, it's really scary. But those big checks, like you're talking about the Heartless Angels, Heartless Archangels.
Heartless Angels, the fact that he actually auto attacks is another big thing that I think a lot of people forget about.
The auto attacks during the Heartless Angels typically are delayed, so you have a lot of time.
Okay.
It's actually much more forgiving than it looks like it is. The major thing is just you actually have a lot of time. You have like 3 GCDs to get the whole party up to full. And, between 2 healers, even with an Astro, it's not that bad as long as you plan for it. And it was just sort of like the hard part's when you're deer in headlights, what am I going to do? But once you sort of have done a few pulls and you've made it through a couple times, you know what you're going to do. It's not so bad.
All right. Well, I'll definitely ask you to elaborate more after we go through some of the fights. Slyh, before we start talking about Phantom Train, is there anything you want to throw in here?
Yeah. What was the mindset going into Sigmascape? Was there anything you did differently to prepare as opposed to Delta?
Honestly, we do similar preparation every tier, which was just running through mechanics from old raids to get back used to referencing stuff verbally. It's like if I say Blighted Bouquet is coming, I want everyone in the raid to know what that means. We've had some roster changes, so if somebody doesn't know what that means and I call that out and they get lost in the middle of a pull, you can throw away a pull for no reason.
So I'm guessing you probably use that in B3 or 7.
Yeah, exactly.
Radar. Yeah.
Exactly, 100%.
So does that mean that helping me get through Ultimate was just practice for...
Rating, a lot of rating, like being competitive, is staying in shape. You could never really relax. You need to go back and remind yourself about old content all the time. So.
I'm always in shape.
Games.
This is my raid shape right here. As far as I'm concerned. All right, but awesome.
One of the fights we actually went back and I'm happy we did was A8. We did a Brute Justice again, and we got to experience a double drill, and that was such a huge deal in 08, as you know.
Yeah, we referred to double drill, with Wings of Destruction. Yeah, that's a scary prospect, double drills. I do not miss them at all.
Yeah.
All right, so with that out of the way, I guess going into the first fight, we have Phantom Train. Now, after Alteroid, there had to be some higher expectations here with Phantom Train than with Alteroid. So, comparatively, which fight did you like better, if I even have to really ask?
Right. The train was just leaps. No. The train was leaps and bounds above. Like, not even close, obviously.
Definitely.
It still feels like it was mostly just AoEs that knock you back. I mean, it's similarly, it was just there was no rails and there was just a bunch of knockback AoEs. So what really made it stand out? Because then you had stuff like the chimney and the ad phase, which was like barely relevant at all. So it really made it stand out over Alteroid.
But even though those things weren't like very relevant, those extra things like the chimney and the other chambers, it was nice that you sort of felt like the map was opened up. You weren't limited to this battlefield, and who knew what could be thrown at you. We could be teleported to a different chamber with different enemies. Though it's not limited to this battlefield. That's a fun concept in a fight. That who knows where they're going to send you next. It was similar in. It was one of the things I liked about A4 actually in Quarantine was it made the arena feel a little more dynamic artificially. So, or I guess really.
I didn't like Quarantine.
And I'm glad you bring up the chambers because I was talking with Happy about something before you got into the call. So apparently there's a strat.
Oh no.
Where the warrior goes in and all it takes is 2 GCDs and it'll erase throttle off of everyone. The only issue is your warrior needs a freaking SSD for this to work.
You don't need an SSD, Slyh. Your warrior's hard drive is just worse than usual.
I mean, like, we tried it and we waited and we died because he was like, okay, I'm still not in there.
He's got a toaster, so it takes too long to load in.
Yeah. He's like, I went into it. I'm loading in. 4 seconds later, still loading in. Okay, I'm in. And then we're all dead. So apparently this doesn't work unless you have a
You don't have a toaster. SSD. My game's not on an SSD. You don't just go. Just hurry.
Yeah.
Are you asking him how he feels about the one throttle strat, as I like to call it? The one.
Have you tried it, Keo? Have you tried it? On this week?
We've tried it, and it's all we do now because it's amazing. But the hope is that eventually, with enough gear, a different DPS can do it and not lose an entire inner release, because that's such a huge DPS loss for the raid to lose that cooldown.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of warriors like, I'm not doing that. You're fucking crazy if you think I'm using inner release to only fell cleave twice. You're fucking high.
Yeah, I think we're gonna try to have the ninja do it soon, but we haven't yet, so we'll see.
All right, yeah, I think I like Dragoon for it. Dragoon or Red Mage, if they have their off GCDs, is another one that could probably do it really well. If you have a Red Mage, people love those. But anyway, so Phantom Train. So how long did it take you to get through Phantom Train? You were the first team to get through Phantom Train, which, not saying much, groups got through it pretty quick. But what was the process like for that one?
So like every other group, we got to the very first knockback and just pew off the edge. So, I mean, the run through normal mode was at least nice because we did pay attention to some of the stuff in there. We knew the basics, but it still was like 5 to 6 pulls where it was just overshield everything, run all the praise to the back, be really safe, and rely on spamming infusion potions and just having tight DPS to overcome the check anyway and beat the enrage. And, we didn't have any crafted gear going in there, so it was just a lot of, I don't know, it felt really manic. A lot of overshielding for me. For like every mechanic had a shield on it. Just please don't die.
Speaking of crafted gear, how did you go? Because I went through Elysium's like crafted list. You didn't. You went through something different. You had your own like separate group for that, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, the group had already been planning crafted before they decided to become an Elysium team. So we already had a team ready, and it was just so last second we didn't want to mingle them last second and try to mix things around, so we decided to stick with ours.
Do you know what like the process was for preparing for that? Because it's got to be stressful for them. They like the demand is pretty high for them to learn what's new, where they get it, especially with yellow scripts and tombstone. Like, did you have to step out, give them tombstone gear? Did they have that all prepped? Like, what was the process like to get 8 people a full set of raid gear by the time you guys were in 07 Savage, I'd imagine?
Well, thankfully we had enough people involved in the team that we didn't have to have anybody exit. We had 7 crafters, and the 7 of them had enough resources that they could just pump it out. They didn't need us to come help.
Effective.
So, nice. The process for it, I mean, a lot of it's just, we didn't get the crafted gear until like we got weapons after 06 was done, and then we got body pieces after 07 was done, and after our first lockout in 8, we got all the rest of the gear. So actually, that second delivery, the chest pieces, a bunch of other people got random, like here and there, headpiece, boots, mixed mishmash. But after the first lockout of Kefka, we were completely done, full pentamelded, all crafted.
It's pentamelds. That's right. They can pentameld it for you while you're in there. See, we actually just got the gear and then pentamelded it ourselves. I forgot you could still trade gear after it was melded. It's been so long.
Yeah, it was really nice to not have to do that ourselves. So just entirely focus on the raid, get the gear, just equip it and go.
That's like an hour save time, and that's how much you won by. So that's a pretty big thing. So, I got any questions about 05?
No, that pretty much covers 05. 05 was a simple fight. It was still fun. Like again, I still prefer that leaps. And
yeah, you hadn't done. You even been into 05 last week when we were doing the show. You had been into 05 and 06 at that point, but you hadn't cleared 06, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So 06. Now you can actually talk about 06 a little bit because now you finished that one.
But see, the funny thing about 06 was that we were going to clear that night, but we kind of got blue balled because our red mage, he had to go do some schoolwork. He said, I can't do anymore. Like right after we reached an enrage and we were going to clear the next pool, he was like, I can't do anymore. I had to go, take care of schoolwork. And I'm like, fine, we'll get it the next day. And we did.
Yeah, but you're on 08 and you get to do that tonight. So you're still moving at a good pace. Tomorrow night, my bad.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night. You're still moving at a good pace. So, Keo, 06 Savage.
Well, let me backpedal one sec. Just one last thing.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, because I think this is something that a lot of groups don't appreciate about prep, is remember the mechanic where you would get head on was about to hit you, and double praise would go out, and you had to spread, or not praise, targeted based AOE's.
Cyclones, yeah.
The Cyclones win.
So something about that, when you're running to the back of the room and your synergy with the team sort of comes out there to not overlap the two AoEs and spread out and make the raid take as minimal damage as possible. And I just want to say, like, one of the things that really impressed me about my group going in there was that was just automatic. You didn't have to think about not overlapping the AoEs. Yeah, I actually didn't know the snap.
I threw it in there for you.
But yeah, I wasn't sure if we would adjust to that very well. We always did. Like, it was spread out damage, so we took as little as possible and healed it up quickly. And I see a lot of groups in PF struggle with that. They end up overlapping the AoEs or otherwise taking excess damage.
Party find.
Agreed. Agreed.
Everyone's on such different levels in the party find. I never trust.
Yeah.
I never trust. Like, even just going back to like Shiva hard mode in the roulette, I still don't trust that the tank's not going to remember that it works differently in hard mode versus extreme. So I piece the fuck out. Like, I don't trust anyone in the Duty Finder on any fight.
Well, after Neo, I have a little bit of trust. Just a
you
little
beat
bit more.
Neo in a pug. Well, 7 people who needed a rep, wasn't it? And you were the pug.
No, it was like
Full
four
pug.
people were in. Yeah, 4 people were in a group, and then they just pugged the rest.
Yeah, you had more balls than me. I wasn't pugging that shit.
Yeah.
Wouldn't happen. No way. Okay, so anything else you want to throw in about 05 before we move on to 06, Kyo?
No, that's it.
So with 06, I don't even think we could talk about 06 right away. I think we have to talk about the emergency maintenance that happened while we were going through 06. So
yes,
what was the thought there? Because that's tough when they tell you it's 2 hours and you know it could actually be any minute, and that every minute counts when you're racing. So what happened when you saw that there was emergency maintenance at 4:30 in the morning?
So you know the story that basically we killed 06 before the maintenance. So that was like a big thing for us because we got to do some polls in 07. We collected a bunch of footage, and then there was a maintenance, so we got to synthesize that. We got to like write down rotations. We got to write down how we're going to handle mechanics, positioning. We got to do all that, and we were way ahead of everyone else because no one else had cleared. And so when we saw that, we were like alternating between like looking at spreadsheets and talking and spamming the launcher to log back in, which was really stressful. But it is what it is. You know, we were spamming when the servers came up the same way, so it's not really so different.
You know that we actually were at Enrage about 30 seconds. I guess we were like 30 seconds after you. Like we were about to get to the last possession on 06 Savage before the maintenance. And somebody used the rock a little too soon. And at 1%, Dwayne decided he was done and that the tidal wave would take us. And then we saw the world first claim in chat like 2 seconds later, like, fuck! we were so angry. Dwayne betrayed us. Dwayne, no. Oh, man. Damn, I actually didn't know. I didn't remember that it was before the maintenance. Damn.
Not only before the maintenance, we got it like a solid, I want to say 20 minutes, not 20 minutes. Maybe it was like 10 minutes. It was pretty close, but we got enough where we got like 5-6 pulls in.
You must have gotten like through Raubon or Sid pretty quick then with the solo instance.
We didn't even know it was a block. Like we all just went right through.
You guys were fast.
Yeah, I was about like we didn't bring that up. Sid Extreme or Sid Savage.
I just assumed that they had no problems with it because of how quickly. Because you guys were almost done with Phantom Train by the time we finished 08 normal because it took us 40 minutes to get through. So we were sad boys. It was my fault, actually.
Aw.
Well, so OBS has a problem. Whenever 14 updates, I need to restart OBS, and otherwise it won't display 14. So I had to log out of 14 after being logged in, wait for the login queue, then go to Sid.
I had the same problem.
Yep.
That day. But Kia, what did you think of 06 altogether as a fight?
I mean, to be completely honest with you, when we first saw the like pictures from the trailer of 06 Savage, and it looked like Savage, right? Because all the paintings were different than what we saw in normal. We were really excited because it was like, there's so much they can do with this, you know, different people picking up the paint at different times and going to different tiles. When we realized it was all the paint right in front of the thing that you needed to use it on, and it was fairly easy and simple to pick up. It was like so much lost potential, but it's still fun.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it was just like, man, the paint's right in front of the box you need, or the painting you need to use to deal with the picture that's right in front of it. It's like, you never think about it, man. It's just glowing picture, pick up paint.
And then the worst part about that is like half the group's only going to use one set of paint anyway, most of the fight.
Blue paint.
Yeah.
Paint. Other than going to Air Force, yeah.
Blue and black, but it's like black twice and blue for the other 4 where you actually need. So much so that you pretty much are blue paint until the third possession cast, which is like almost the halfway point of the fight at that point. Yeah, I was wondering how you felt about wasted potential, because I was of the opinion this was actually, I don't want to say worst designed, but least exciting design of all of them. I thought even the Phantom Train was a better designed encounter than this one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel similarly, Kyo?
I mean, I think so. It's sort of on the fence with that because I didn't much. Well, okay, so I'll talk about 07 when we get to it, but 07 aesthetically, meh.
I understand. I understand what you mean there. Yeah,
6 pretty in the sense that like the different paintings were cool and the animations were cool, but the fight design itself was whatever. It felt so linear for a fight that should have been a little more RNG in nature, more of like what 07 was.
Yeah, they had room to really. I don't know about you. We were convinced that the paintings were going to be completely random. Like as we were first learning it, we were like, "Oh, so if he does this, it's going to be that." But it ended up being when he does this, you'll do that.
It feels like it was designed that way because you have so much time. Like when he starts tethering to the painting, you have ages to go deal with your mechanic. It's like they intended for you to react to what you saw, and yet you don't have to. You can just do it ahead of time.
Ultimate Chatternook?
Maybe.
One day? Oh, man.
Different paint for different cards. Yeah, so use maybe yellow paint for water.
If you use yellow paint, if you use yellow paint on the resistance one, it'll give you earth resistance. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be.
If you use red paint on the Air Force, then you got a sweet ride, bro. I don't know.
Also feel like the lack of positionals is kind of confusing. Like I don't know why they did that. Like it didn't take anything.
Like made everything omnipositional. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like a weird fight to do that on, but whatever.
I guess they just didn't want our cameras like hugging the painting, like for the melee, if you were like up against the wall, kind of thing.
I feel like it's part of the fun though. Like learning how to get every positional is part of what melees love doing. And it's in that fight, it's just.
You know how many times I, as the melee, have now died because I'm 100% convinced I can lose no GCDs doing the Earth AoE, and I learned very quickly that thing is a lot faster than it looks.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, tank. Stand against the wall. I'm gonna run in a circle around, and then 3 ticks in, I'm dead. Like, fuck. That thing cuts corners. It's cheating. It's not nearly as easy to kite as the heads in 08. Those things are a joke. But one thing I'm curious about. I was making the guide for 06 Savage, and I figured something out regarding 06 Kyo. Apparently, if you're willing to lose 3 or 4 GCDs, you never have to look away from that ghost. The poltergeist. I don't know about you, but we were like kiting it and then turning around after the gaze AoE went off the day of. If you just stare at it the whole time and you look at the gaze AoE makes you walk towards Goddess, which is where the ghost already is. So the ghost just never moves.
That's true. We just walked to the other end of the room and then kited it for a second and just we never froze it at all. And it would just disappear after a while. So it's like.
I saw a post on Reddit where somebody said, wait, you can freeze them?
Yeah, it's like you didn't have to. It wasn't mandatory. But I wish they sort of made them move a little bit faster to make you do that.
Yeah, it almost feels like the ghost should have been moving 4 times as fast, so you had to do it the way that, like, is the way people do it now, where you stare at the ghost, and then as soon as, like, the cast bar is almost done for the gaze AoE, you then turn around for a brief second. I guess if it was, like, closer to the end of the raid tier, it might have worked that way, but it feels like they didn't think that one all the way through. Because what's the point of the gaze AoE pulling you towards the ghost to then have the ghost dock? I don't get it. I don't get where the thought process was there.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
And I feel like that reigns true for a lot of it, like you said, because it's so limited. It feels like with how little you need the other paints, it just Listen, as a melee, I don't know. You said that we also do like omnipositional. Sometimes it's just nice. It's just a nice break. Except with Neo X Death, that was fucking boring. It was nice, but it was fucking boring because he just sat there against the wall the whole time. Well, against the wall, the edge of the arena.
Yeah. I mean, so many mechanics for melees are around their positionals that it's so awkward to me to think that's just entirely gone for a fight. I don't know. It just feels like something's missing.
I'm going to ask you the healer question now, Kyo. How many times did the tanks die to getting auto-attacked by the goddess from across the room?
Maybe once, I think.
Once? A lot. That's a lot better than a lot of other groups who don't remember the goddess auto-attacks.
I realized fairly quickly how much damage our paladin was taking while in Sword Oath, and started throwing X-Cogs at him on cooldown and tethering him with the Faerie, and I was just like, yeah, you're getting chunked. But yeah,
the thing hurts, man. And you can't even see it. It's like an auto attack you forget is happening because it's happening way off camera.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, man. Slyh, do you have any other questions? Oh, Kyo, you want to add something?
I remember the conversation with the tank like in question. After a while, he was like, am I really getting hit that hard? And it was like, yeah. He's like, I wasn't even using my cooldowns because like, what am I using them on? There's no casted thing. He was using them only on the last kiss, That was it. Other than that, it was just sitting on the cooldowns for a while. He's like, I'm just going to roll these.
I'm surprised how few groups with paladins tried to hollowed ground the Cyclone split damage AoE.
Oh, yeah, we didn't.
Nobody I know tried it. That was as soon as we saw it, the very next poll, we were like, can we hollowed this? And I was like, nobody else tried it.
We did this week.
Yeah, but you did it this week. We did it on our second poll.
Yeah, like...
You realize how much effort you wasted running halfway across the room to split the damage, and now you got one guy who's casting Holy Spirit from across the room. And he's the only one. But Slyh, now you never need... Now think of it this way. Now you never need to leave the boss. Yeah. I'm just curious, because everyone's like, oh, hollowed works on that? I was like, normally everyone hollows everything that's annoying. I guess that wasn't annoying enough.
Stack markers are historically, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Like, think about A5. The stack marker there, hollowed didn't work. None of the immunity.
Alexander had a lot of that ignore hollowed for a few years. A lot of it. So,
I mean, it would have been a good idea to try, but at the same time, it wasn't that hard to stack the group in, and it wasn't that... The first one, there's an AoE, there's a demonic howl right when it happens, so it's actually a lot of damage. But it's nothing an Indom can't cure.
That one Indom. That's it. It seems like it's so much, but it's one Indom, and that's it. You're done. You make it sound so simple when you're the one playing the healer. I'm always scared for my life. I'm popping second wind in a bloodbath. Like, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah, that second one, though, running across the room is such a pain. So, I mean, I'm glad we don't have to do that anymore.
Chat's like, you know what that Indom could be? Could be... Oh, I thought you were going to say an energy drain. No, stop it. He needs an Indom anyway. There's AoE there.
On the tank that dies to goddess autos.
God, that's the worst. You get last kiss, auto, and then a howl all at the same time, and you're just like, where'd that extra... Oh, fuck, the auto attack. Damn it. And then the tank gets up and immediately goes to do something and then gets autoed again.
You know what you're convincing me? That I don't want to off-tank this fight ever.
No, if you do, just don't do anything until you get any heals. Just get up and be like, I'm done. Just pretend that there's a life-threatening AoE that's coming out like as you're getting up, because the auto attack is the equivalent of it. Oh, man. All right, Slyh, got anything else about 06?
No, you covered the goddess autos and everything I was going to ask. So
autos. I'm a DPS and I'm afraid of those. Because if the tank goes, then the other tank goes, then I go.
It's us. It's us. Yeah.
We're next. But Slyh, the next one's the fun one. 07.
Oh, yeah.
07. What do you mean, oh, yeah? You sound so disheveled by it.
I am. I still am.
Why?
I know how much. Right. I know how much you went through day one, and just actually getting through it finally. Like, I'm just glad we actually got through it. So many enrages.
You knew you would get through it, though.
I knew we would get through it, but all those goddamn enrages.
Yeah, it was
like how many enrages?
Hard watching.
Yeah,
I was watching those like, please do something different. I can't see another enrage.
We're not a fan of science.
I know. Yeah, I noticed. Not a fan of science. The 07 Savage, just like every raid tier, the third fight's always where the difficulty ramps up, Keo. So how long did 07 Savage take you guys versus 05 and 06?
Way too long. So we had a bit of a block in 07 because we couldn't anticipate. Like, our biggest thing, it's kind of a meme now, is ink. Ink would come out. We would all be stacked together and be like, ink! And we'd run to spread, and then we'd all die.
Wow.
The simplest AoEs are the deadliest AoEs.
There was no heads. You had to know it was coming ahead of time. Like, if you were stacked in the middle, and then it was load program Ultros, you couldn't spread in time. You were just dead. What? You're smiling.
I'm smiling because I had the same thing. We were very used to going, ink! Just fucking bolting into, and it's always like four dead people every time.
Or somebody just screaming ink like 50 times. Ink, 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 dead.
It's a big AoE too. Like, you might think you're far enough, but it's pretty big, giggity.
Yeah, I mean, you can go into normal mode and see the telegraph. It's fucking massive.
That's how I described it. I was like, yeah, I remembered from the normal mode prior, like, we're fucked. As soon as we got to ink, I was like, oh my god, we're never gonna fucking remember this, are we?
It's so big that even if spread, I'm afraid to do any jumps. Because I'm afraid, like, the minute I
isolated on a shirt.
Like, if I do any jumps, and it happened once where we were spread, I was just getting a jump in just because I thought I was far enough. Nope. Me and the monk. Fun times.
I don't want to do triple melee on that fight ever. Is all I've learned. Like, with double melee, at least you've got cardinal directions. But with triple melee, fuck you. You're one of you's leaving the boss. I'm not fucking doing star directions here. I ain't doing it. So you said too long, Keo. Do you have like an actual time? Was it like 4 hours, something like that? 3-4 hours?
So I don't know exactly how much time it was, but I do know that. Remember, I told you we finished 06 before maintenance. We had 5-6 pulls of time to synthesize, plus all the downtime to look at all the footage. We had this huge lead, and then we actually were world third on 07. So, like, we lost it. I don't remember the exact time, but I think it was like 3 hours or so. Too much. We regressed pretty hard after a while because we were initially doing, like, we had somebody writing down the calls for each mechanic that was coming. We had like an ongoing list. And then at one point we had a miscommunication with the group. We stopped doing calls and we regressed quite a bit. For like an hour we regressed and it was awful. So that was our big screw up this tier. Was 07.
Hey, listen, you lost that lap, but you won the race.
Yeah, we did really well in 8, so I'm really proud of us for that.
Yeah,
we did good at the beginning and the end. So
what do you think was the biggest hurdle in 7?
Other than ink.
Other than ink.
Yeah, I mean, aside from ink, honestly, nothing was a particular hurdle up until we hit Enrage. And then we regressed and started getting ink again. I think every single mechanic, like, we saw it once and we knew what to do. We did have a couple wipes to bombs because we didn't understand the mechanic.
Nothing to fire, or did you not understand it, or did you try walking into it and it refused to fucking explode?
So we thought it was being inside the circle. So we'd walk in and stand still there and be like, why isn't it popping? And then wiggle around in the middle and why isn't it popping? And you didn't realize you had to walk over the wire.
Yeah, it took us a while. So with Searing Wind, did you just YOLO it? Did you figure out that it was by the way, I have a question for you about the Searing Wind. Did you guys figure out that it was the furthest DPS immediately, where the Searing Winds?
No, we assumed it was random.
Yeah, we did too. We did the whole prog. We never figured out it was furthest.
The very first pull, we decided, tank northwest, healer northeast, healer DPS south, corners for the spread for Searing Wind. Like, we assigned that, and then we just stood in like the halfway mark between the corner and the middle, and we just spread when you saw your debuff. And that was enough. We didn't have too many with it.
As the melee DPS, was always furthest, and realized after how upset I was figuring out it was the furthest DPS, because I literally never got abandonment once. No, I got it only once. And
I think I figured it out by accident. Like, by
how do you
purpose.
accidentally figure that out?
Somehow, some way, I didn't realize that we were getting ready for virus, and they had to call it, and I was, for some reason, at a corner, and yeah, never usually in the corner, but normally I'm in close to mid, and yeah, I got to.
I like this in the chat. Because of the colors of the wires, they thought it was tank and DPS. The red wire was DPS, so if the red wire was glowing, they thought it had to be a DPS. If it was blue,
no.
it had that. I'm glad I'm, for the first time, thank God I'm colorblind, because I would have never thought of that shit.
We luckily didn't have that idea, so we just had healers doing it from the beginning. And taking such oversight. We did have a couple wipes though to like that same error where it was just like we throw away a 5-minute pull because the bomb just wouldn't explode. It wouldn't disarm. So that really sucks. That's like when you're in Prog, it's a summation of wipes, right? You're minimizing the wipes, so every mechanical challenge that costs you wipes, that's ultimately holding you up. And bombs is definitely worth noting. So I think we lost 2 pulls to it.
We called the bombs the digititis of 07 because it felt like, regardless of trying to do the right thing, everything was the wrong thing. Couldn't think of any other way to put it. So not even the virus program, like you guys, like even not knowing the searing wind thing, which I was going to ask you a question about, but it sounds like with the way you guys YOLO'd it, you might not have an answer for me. Even that just didn't push you. So then how would you compare it to 03?
Well, it's like I'm giving it the do. I mean, it's still like a gavel mechanic. We refer to those kind of like gavel mechanics, where there's a whole bunch of debuffs.
Exact dance for every single person.
Yeah. But like, so we had the one wipe where it was just like we have no clue what's going on, and we had another wipe to getting there with a basic plan, and there was an execution issue. Like people didn't stack properly, and they got hysteria in one of the walls. It was like one more wipe to that, and I think after that we were pretty solid. I don't think we had any more wipes to, except for random, occasional hysterias, which I feel like we got hit with that less than other people because our latencies were all fairly synced, I guess. Because we didn't have that many random hysterias. We had a few.
Pissed me off so much.
And see, we thought that and the bombs was a bug. The random hysterias and then the bombs not going off was a bug. And you just found out latency and
I mean, the random hysterias to me, it's not really a bug, but it's unintentional.
It's a feature.
It's a feature.
I don't think it's supposed to happen. I think that's a bug. Technically a bug because I've seen people stacked perfectly and do the mechanic 100% right and still get hysteria, and that's when it's bug territory. Like latency shouldn't cause that to happen.
Yeah, what it feels like is it checks every like however many seconds, maybe 3. It feels like it's more frequently than 3 for abandonment, but it sounds like it checks as the knockout is going out, so one of you has already been knocked back because not everyone is simultaneous, and that's when it happens, and it fucking kills you.
Yeah,
it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. But overall, so going back then, how would you compare it to 03? Because I liked it a lot better than 03, but I also found it more challenging than 03. I pugged the first half of 03 and I did the other half with you, so maybe it was a little bit different.
I really enjoyed 07's mechanics a lot more than 03, but at the same time, the aesthetics, there's no question. 03's felt better. I don't know. I just didn't like the whole
World of Destruction.
The brown boss in the brown room with very few colors everywhere, and you couldn't even really tell what the boss was such a mix of the same colors. It was, I don't know, aesthetically very displeasing. But
I mean, he was aesthetically displeasing in 6 too, so I guess they nailed that.
Yeah.
He was just a generic ass robot in 6 that was like unbeatable the first 2 times you ran into him. I was half expecting that to be part of the fight where he's unbeatable for like a portion, because in Final Fantasy VI, the first 2 times you can encounter him, it's a game over or you have to run if you actually run into him. And then the 3rd time, which is where you see him here at the Kefka's Tower before the Warring Triad, that's when you actually kill him. Yeah, because the thing I want to ask you about with Searing Winds, Kyo, is we figured out DPS was the farthest after we cleared it, but I'm still convinced the tanks and the healers are random. And I have footage that suggests that as well, but I just wanted to know if you guys found any consistency to it.
That's very interesting that you asked that, because we had some very odd data. So I always bait far in my group, and I always get Searing Wind. In my main group, 100% of the time I have Searing Wind. I went and pugged it the other day, and I baited far. In fact, I was all the way in the corner where the other healer was inside the hitbox of the boss, and I started not getting Searing Wind, and I was so confused. And so what we decided is probably the case is it's actually based on the tanks, not the healers.
So you think that the healer could be random, but I don't know.
It's the same healer every time, corresponding to a certain tank that's marked.
Oh, so the boss almost like because what I started checking is if it was main tank that got it, then I found footage where the off tank got it, and then I found footage where the main tank got it, and I'm just like, and then I have one where the nearest tank got Searing Wind, and I have one where the farthest tank got. So I was losing my mind about it.
I really don't know. Maybe it's a pair. Maybe it's like the combined distance between the healer and the tank that says. I have no idea. There's something weird, but I do know that my group is consistent every single pull. It's always me, and it's always the same tank. So
I gotta figure it out. I put in my guide that it's random, but like no part of me felt comfortable saying that, because I was like, no. Why would they make the DPS one not random and the tank healer one random? I can't accept it. This isn't the paralyzed debuff from Shinryu. I refuse to accept that. It can't be. All right. So any other questions about 07, Sly?
No. You pretty much said your only quote unquote hurdle was ink.
Sly's blown away by that because there's some other programs that could have been. Dude, I don't know. People getting hit by the slow moving missiles and who could ever get hit by those? Yeah, who could ever get hit by those missiles? They're so slow, and then people just get fucking hit by them anyway.
I mean, it wasn't a hang up because in Prog I shield everything, and those missiles don't kill you. If you're vit melded in 340 and the missile hits you, it doesn't kill you. It just gives you a bunch of damage and a vuln. So they never really stopped our Prog. And like in the worst possible case, a DPS would die and just raise them and keep going. You know, Enrage largely was just a matter of getting a clean pull for us. So it didn't really matter to it. It didn't stop a pull. That's really what I think about what slows us down. It's what stops a pull. So
in that case, then I guess you said you were shielding all of those. So I guess would that be a piece of advice for someone who's going through really early Prog to just, if you've seen somebody survive something and you don't trust people to survive it 100% of the time, just go crazy with overshielding?
Overshielding is always my best strat until you've seen enough mechanics to know I don't need it here. But the first time you're seeing anything, everyone should just have a sucker on them. Yeah, for sure. Anything else you would impart in terms of I guess skill usage that could assist for players doing really early Prog? This is from the scholar's POV, obviously, but just don't be afraid to use lustrates, excogs, and indoms as much as often as you can. You know, dissipate as much as you can, because you are the most suited to emergency heals and preventative heals compared to your co-healer. So you're gonna be a lot in Prog because you're overshielding and you're blowing all your stacks on not energy drain. But it's better to do that until you're comfortable, and then dial it back as needed. Did you ever use mana pots instead of offensive pots? All the time. I almost never used pots, the damage pots, except on pull. I always have max ether HQs on me. One other thing is also, it's the most important for a healer to be mechanically strong than any other role in the group, I feel like. So like trying really hard not to die is really important on the healing role. I really liked having a red mage, but when a healer died, I always shat my pants. It's usually an imminent wipe when a healer dies in Prog. Especially if they get up and die again. Oh yeah. Then you're just like, wallet. I'm not doing. Nope, not doing this. We're just wallet. I can't. I'm not wasting my time. Start over. Yeah. What was your point of wiping? Like what would be your criteria for fuck it? I don't want to keep doing this pull anymore. You always, like, it depends if you've seen this stuff already, right? If there's still something you've seen, you want to keep the pull going as long as possible. But if you have already seen enough in the future for where you are, and like, I don't know, if the healers are out of MP and there's still people dead, it's time to throw in the towel because you're just wasting time. You just have to. It's sort of a judgment call every time on whether you can actually get new footage or not. Okay, all right.
I agree with that. we usually go until we see something new, and if we know we're not going to see anything new because a bunch of people are dead and the mechanic is not going to work as intended, then we kind of throw in the towel.
You know when's the 100% throw in the towel moment? When somebody dies on the thing just before a Bibliotaph spawn, and you know there's no way they'll be raised in time to seal the portals.
Yeah.
That,
we don't even try to do ads.
Yeah.
We actually had, when we were re-clearing, like the day after we beat Kefka, we actually got a kill through having to kill one of the Bibliotaph. We had the Bibliotaph ad spawn, and we LB3 just that ad, then Bibliotaph spawned, and we killed him normally. Then we finished the boss with like a minute before Enrage still. I couldn't believe the difference 1375 weapon made.
So, Keo, for science, did you actually try to heal through like an ad kill?
Heal through a what? Sorry?
Ad kill,
like
the
killing an
Bibliotaph.
ad.
Like, did you guys ever get a Bibliotaph?
The smaller
and say, this
Bibliotaph.
pull is still good?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we LB'd one time. Like, we got the ad and we just like kill it, just LB it. And I think we tried to keep it alive. I want to say we succeeded that pull, but it was really hard. But we did have that once. We had one where there was the Bibliotaph ad itself, like the one that's actually Biblio, and then we had the winged ad that spawns from not sealing the portals properly, and then the boss, all three up at the same time, and I think we tried to keep it alive. I don't actually remember if we succeeded.
I can't wait to see the FF log challenge version where you have to have at least one Bibliotaph ad spawn from each portal over the course of the fight. Which means
I think it's going to be 2.
Yeah, it means you'd need either 3 on the first set, 1 on the second, or 2 on each. Those FF logs, are you planning on taking any of those on, Keo? The FF log specialties that people like to make up between patches?
I hope we do, but I mean, it's ultimately a group decision.
Yeah.
But I would like to.
All right, well,
to answer the question, though, I would say keep XCOG up as long as you still have stacks available. If your XCOG gonna be your last stack, that's a risky thing to do because you're gonna not have the ability to lustrate or indom anymore. So as long as you have some in reserve, it's good to throw out XCOGs here and there. They usually be useful.
All right, good. Now we can move on to the granddaddy himself. Well, actually, daddy was an 07, but, you know, Kefka's actual daddy.
Yeah. There was one more thing, actually, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind at all. You're the dude. You're world first. You tell me to shut the fuck up.
There's one more thing that I think a lot of groups. It's actually really important, but it's not talked about very much. There's a whole lot of value in seeing brand new mechanics with all 8 people alive. Like, I know it's a silly thing to say, of course, right?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
When you have somebody dead and the tanks are both at like 25% HP and the healers are struggling, it's actually pretty good to prioritize that raise as fast as you can when you're going into new mechanic territory, because you'll get wrong information. Like the debuffs will start going to wrong people, and you'll get an idea and make like a strategy for a mechanic that's just incorrect because you don't have 8 people alive. And so it's the strength of the whole group to keep full 8 alive.
With Kefka coming up, there's the second Forsaken in particular. We found was a really big one where we actually just straight up said, don't even fucking talk about it. Just go get there again, because we only had 2 people alive. So, yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And now, Sly, I want you to take in this next bit of information, because we're going to talk about a bunch of shit, and you're going in there tomorrow. And that's it. You're calling the shots tomorrow, Sly.
I'm not raid calling.
No, you're calling the shots, not raid calling. You don't want to be responsible. You're gonna lose your voice. We always lose our voices when we do raid calls for 16 hours a day. All right, so we have Kefka. I don't actually know where to begin with talking about Kefka because there's so much to absorb here.
The beginning.
The beginning is obviously where we will be starting, but Keo, I got a question for you. When you did Kefka on normal mode, did you get a reverse spell?
I don't remember. I think so, yeah.
We didn't. We actually didn't know he could reverse spells until we got to Savage. We're like, oh shit, new mechanic.
So you never got a question mark in
on our normal mode pull, not a single mechanic was reversed. I don't think it was, because we were super surprised when we got to it in Savage, at least with the lightning. Like, I know we at least never saw that one when we were in normal mode. So I was just curious because we got fucked for a while. on not being able to identify them properly.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of when you see it, it's almost always.
So there's one guaranteed reverse in normal. Okay, so we had at least one.
You just didn't know it.
I actually remember seeing the question mark in normal for, I think it was the knockback orb. I don't remember though.
Oh, yeah, he's like, so you think you have my tells or something like that? You can understand my.
I'm not gonna remember that far.
I remember. There's a dialogue in chat, and then he does reverse. Yeah.
So Kefka. All right. So this is the next. I guess this is Kfaust. I don't even know how you began to approach. Like I said, I don't know where to begin with talking about Kefka because there's so much going on there. So I guess I'll ask first. Did you feel like this was just Exdeath and Neo Exdeath reskinned and made slightly different?
Definitely felt very different than Exdeath and Neo Exdeath in terms of like the play, but similar goals, right? 59% again. The DPS check being tight on the first fight again, and the second fight not quite as tight.
3 elemental attacks and then doing them all at once again. It's Celestiad, and Forsaken was basically Grand Cross, and then Trine was basically emptiness. I don't know. I read all that. It was, the formula was to the T. It felt like
even as Vacuum Wave.
Vacuum Wave knockback after being untargetable. Like, I don't know. To me, it felt like Kefka. I feel like because these fights are from really old games where they just constantly reuse like these same spells over and over, like as each new game released, it led to them trying to be creative with them, but feeling a little too similar.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think it still managed to feel different, quite different in the actual play, but I can see all the similarities for sure.
Do you have not necessarily a preference, but
which one did you like better? Is that what you want to say?
Yeah. Which one? Yeah, which one did you favor?
Just the first form for now.
Yeah. Definitely liked Kefka better. The Graven Images were really good mechanical gauntlets that they didn't really have those in Exdeath as like explicitly. It was just basically black hole. Like, otherwise it's not much exciting. But the Graven Images were all very interesting.
All right, so you go into Kefka, and you have these normal and reverses. Did you guys get hung up on the normal and reverses at all?
Early on, no. Later on, it was like, I don't know real from fake.
Was that just we've been in here too long, my brain's not working anymore?
It's partially like the marathoning Final Fantasy XIV too for like 16 hours. You just get to a point where you just fake real. It was tough.
Yeah, did you have fancy nicknames for all the? Because we had fancy nicknames for everything this raid tier. I guess I didn't ask about fancy nicknames.
Like we just called it fake and real, like most people do.
Oh, we had Bamboozle. We had Patches for the lightning one.
True false.
True false for you. I mean, we had nicknames for everything. We had Spooky Ghosts in 05. We had Daddy for Dataluma. It was Daddy Luma, Uncle Ulti, Biblio Thump, and I can't remember. I don't think we did anything. Our Air Force Ones. That was the other nickname. Or the other one. Sly, why was the Air Force Ones the only one that you gave me a SMA?
I mean, I can understand everything else. Air Force Ones, though.
Well, we don't want to leave them out. And you had to do that dance with the missiles. So you had to put on your dancing shoes. Air Force Ones aren't dancing shoes, but I mean, they are in some music videos, but that's about it.
I feel like our names are shit for everything. I mean, like some of it, like we have similar names. Like for 5, we had like Chase Ghost, Ghost Line, Pushback Ghost, Knockback Ghost. Like we had basic bitch.
Arm and Hammer, like that's another one. Baking Soda for the Tank Buster. Arm and Hammer makes
to the forehead.
Kitty litter too, so I don't know. I have Arm and Hammer kitty litter for my cat.
True.
Head on apply directly to the forehead.
I like that. One. Apply this mechanic directly to your forehead.
Yeah.
I like that. I gotta remake my 05 guide now. Just to include that. Alright, so it wasn't that, but so you mentioned really liking Graven Image. Was there a Graven Image that really got on your nerves?
Well, I mean, the confused tethers, obviously. The confused tethers, like, it wasn't that bad to set up the strat. Like, it was pretty obvious, like, the sleep's in the middle and the confused is on the edge. That was pretty clear once we realized that auto attacks were fatal from the confused people.
Well, they are fatal, but they don't have to be fatal, is what we've learned, Keo.
No, that's actually incorrect too. If you click off the damage buff, which we figured that out very quickly, that you could click off the damage buff, like, oh, they're not fatal anymore. Let's put the confused people together, and we threw away a pull on it. Because even when you click off the damage buff, you still one-shot people.
Okay, that's good to know. Everyone's like, you can click the damage buff off. It's great. But I have I guess nobody's done that and then tried hitting. Dude, no, Keo, here's what you got to do. All right, for the FF logs runs, right? You just throw like a spread adlo right before the mechanic, and then you let one person auto attack the group so their FF logs is like boosted.
Yeah, it's just like 86,000 damage.
Is it still 86,000 even without the damage buff?
I think so. I actually didn't look at the numbers. I just know it was a one-shot.
Wow.
It's one shot, boys. All right, nobody. That's it, guys. Call off the strat for cheesing the FF logs. That's it. You've heard it. It's not worth it.
See, it's worth it. You just got to kill one person. You just sack the one guy.
Yeah, sack the one person. It's not their pull. Because that's a free 80,000 damage when no one else gets 80,000 damage. That's like...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And then you give that person enhanced balance before the confuse. I don't know that that'll actually boost it any further, but yeah. How many sprint deaths did you have to the confuse, by the way?
A couple. Not very many, but we did have a few. I had a couple times where I sprinted half the distance before I clicked it off and still managed not to kill anybody somehow by some miracle. So I think
the auto attacks trigger every 3 seconds. If you get lucky like timings, I think the auto attacks take longer than the normal auto attacks in the game do. Feels that way at least, because we've had people fuck it up and survive too. I don't know how. What about the second Graven Image? Because that one was the one that hung us up. Gravitas. Figuring out that you needed to stack those.
Yeah, so this was one of those times where I partially luck, partially just good inspiration. We got the right strat right from the beginning. Like it was the first pull we saw what happened. We made a good strategy that involved what we ended up using in the end, which was lining up vertically and moving aside. So it was pretty quick. I maybe not the first pull, but maybe it took a couple pulls, but we got it fairly fast. Whereas I watched other groups struggle for over an hour trying to sort that mechanic out on stream. And I understand, but the big trick was exactly 2 in the gravity and exactly 1 for the rock. And once people sorted that out, the strategy kind of was easy.
See, I noticed that the rocks needed to spread out. So I was like, well, then it only makes sense for the other mechanic to stack. So we tried all 4 at once. And you can actually survive that with shields, is what we learned. It actually does, I think it does 52,000 or something if all 4 of them are on top of each other approximately.
It's 16k unmitigated, unshielded per gravity well. So if you're adding all of them together, that would be 64,000.
Yeah, never mind. Don't do that.
You could probably still do it with soil, spread low, and then Covenant or something. I don't know.
Shake it off, man.
Yeah, shake it off. Sure.
Shake it off's great. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, that didn't go well. But we figured out that it worked. We then spent another 2 pulls trying to mitigate all 4 of them before we thought of not doing that. Don't do that, Slyh. Don't. Just 2 of them. Slyh. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you can see it in our kill, but we even just have the rock person stacking with the gravity well, which I was really happy we figured that out because most groups are doing 2 gravity wells.
That's what we're doing still, yeah.
And it's a lot less raid damage to do 1 rock and 1 gravity well together, because then you only take about 22,000 total unmitigated between those 2. That's to the rock person.
Yeah.
Instead of 32,000 for the double stacked gravity wells.
Yeah, we had issues with the rock, consistency's sake, the rock people getting away from the gravity people before it went off. So we also liked having 2 stacks instead of 4, I suppose, but we realized we could have done it that way. But at one pull, we thought that the Gravitas knocked the rock person off. And then we realized that was not the case. It was another rock person. So...
in my eyes, it's the sign of a really good mechanic that there's multiple different ways to do the mechanic successfully and like reasonably. Like both those strats are valid, and yet it's still a difficult mechanic. Like it's just well designed. So I'm a big fan of that Graven Image. I think it's my favorite.
It's better than the first one, man. Did you guys properly figure it out? We actually never figured out that only the DPS were getting the shared AoEs until like way after we had days after we had beaten God Kefka. And we had spent days YOLOing it.
I don't think I think if I told my group that that's the case right now, they'd be like, really? Yeah, because we just spread out. We literally just spread out across the arena.
And you guys did a box strat, right?
At the end, yeah. Like we converged the box after the third puddles drop.
Yeah, we did a line strat, and I was vehemently against it because people kept getting hit when Kef goes on the other side from the teleport. And they said, no, we really like the line strat. And I was like, you're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. With this fucking line strat. It looks so stupid. Slyh, do a box strat. Don't do a line strat tomorrow. Don't put 4 markers in a line. Put them in a box.
We didn't even have any markers. Never mind. Okay. No.
Yeah, but you only did meme pulls.
Yeah, we did meme.
That doesn't count.
I mean, we were semi-meming. Like, we had, like, based off of our polls, we had somewhat of a strat going into, learning new shit. But, semi-memes.
Chat brings up another interesting point. We eventually said, if you don't know where you belong, get the fuck out for that. Because if you eat the stack alone, it's not fatal, and you only take like 10% more damage, and it's totally survivable for all the mechanics that come afterwards. But now there's no reason to fail it. I was kind of disappointed that Kefka had a lot of not instant death failure. The whole raids here, actually, there was a lot of mechanics that weren't instant death failure, which I guess is a result of player feedback, because I remember that for like a good 3 months, people were complaining that everything was like an instant kill if you failed it.
Do you think that's mainly because of Vitmel privilege? Oh.
No, it really felt like they designed that mechanic to not instantly kill a player if you didn't do it, which for a split damage AoE is really weird. It's like 35,000 damage or something.
Wait, which AoE?
The first Graven Image, the 4 split damage AoEs.
Really? You can live through that?
You can live through it, and the vuln up you get is only 10% more damage taken.
I didn't realize that. I don't think we ever continued living after someone got hit with that solo.
Yeah, it's not as if you like sucker or like spread an adlo, which probably wouldn't want to waste there, but still. That person like survives with flying colors as if they did it right. They just get a vuln stack.
That's really hard to do because the lasers strip.
The
all
lasers are the variable that get you there. As a monk, I hate that. I hate the lasers. If I don't get a laser on me, I lose stacks. So I pretty much have to run to the front of the room no matter what and eat at least one of the lasers to my face. Not a fan of Kefka as a monk. OG Kefka.
Yeah.
I don't like that guy. You're fine, Slyh. You fucking shit was made easy as hell. Fucking Life of the Dragon, 30-second cooldown. Fucking 4-eye bullshit, 3-eye bullshit. Going from 4 to 3-eye bullshit.
And we can refresh it.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Anytime.
Yeah.
I just want to say, like, that fight, I feel like they made that fight with Surecast in mind. And
I feel like they made the whole tier with that in mind.
But Kefka Normal in particular has so many good applications of Surecast that it's just unreal.
Yeah, there's the knockback from the orb. There's the knockback from... I never used it on the first Graven Image. I think you can, because it's not an AoE like the next one.
Yeah, I do. I use it there, and I do that so I can go straight to my position right away. I don't have to deal with the knockback.
Yeah. You can use that there. You can use it on... As a melee, I would probably... Like, for you, it makes sense, because there's no target, and the thing you'll probably need to do is heal. For me, at like arm's length, I probably wouldn't use it there. I'd probably save it for the orb that comes up on the very next Graven Image. But that's a good thing. Then there's reasons for different spots. Like, not everyone's using Surecast arm's length at the same time, I guess. Or Tempered, or Holmgang.
Yeah, people. I find that people save it for different stuff.
Yeah. Knockbacks on everything. Then I think you could probably not knock arm's length the rock AoE.
I never tried it on the rock AoE, but I don't think you ever want to plan for that anyway, because you're going to kill the other person, right? I guess if both of them put on.
Well, the only person who would get knocked back is the person who doesn't belong next to the rock person, because the rock person doesn't get knocked back. Yeah, yeah. Just sorry. I had to refresh my memory on that one.
I don't even remember. I thought it was both people get knocked back if they're they both get knocked back. If you get hit with the rock on two people, both of them go flying.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. No, sorry, I was only thinking about when you eat it solo and yeah. Okay, no, you're right.
Because when both tanks suddenly go, oh, and then they're both dead, that's when you know what happens.
That's great. That's the best raid call of them all. Is oh, and then someone's dead. Yeah. It's the simplest raid call that everyone is capable of making, oddly enough. I don't like doing raid calls, but I'm really good at that one.
But a lot of people, I was going to say the Graven Images in particular, a lot of people are critical of mechanics where the boss goes untargetable. Because like part of the fun of this game is hit the boss while doing mechanics. But I'm a huge fan of them. I love them. So.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah,
you want to know what happens to me on the, you know why I like the one rock, one gravitas strat as a monk? Because if I get the rock twice in a row with this like a sucker on, I can't refresh using Riddle of Earth. I'll take 0 damage from both those rocks.
That's why you stack with the gravities.
I know.
That's why you should be.
I know. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. I wasn't a big fan during Prog when we weren't doing it. Started tornado kicking there regardless because I couldn't fucking take it because I PBs on a minute anyway. Fuck it. I wasn't happy.
Mr. Unhappy.
I was very Mr. Unhappy. That joke got made about me at the Decidia tournament, and it was great. Anyway, moving on from Kefka. By the way, I want to move on, but Kefka's also way longer of an enrage than Xdeath, I'd like to point out. It's like 7 minutes.
Normal Kefka?
Well, the base... I guess I shouldn't be calling him Kefka normal. I keep saying normal Kefka, meaning not God Kefka.
Yeah.
But at base form Kefka. Yeah. His enrage is 6 minutes and 55 seconds for that 40% of his HP.
Whereas Xdeath was about, what?
4.5 minutes or something?
Minutes, yeah.
Like just under 5 minutes. It's insane. He's like 2 minutes longer of a first phase.
But isn't his untargetable time a little bit longer than Xdeath's? Because Xdeath goes for decisive battle twice in his, and how many times is Kefka untargetable?
3. I think once for each the first Graven Image on each he's untargetable.
Okay.
I believe so.
And Kefka's twice for decisive battle, plus the occasional go fuck yourself Thunder 3 if you're not fast enough.
Yeah.
Also not a fan of that. Just pointing that out real quick. I really like Arm's Length though. Big fan of that. But yeah, so 7 minutes in, and then you get to this transition. How did you feel the war of Kefka transition versus Xdeath transition?
So obviously the animation is very... I mean, really the animation, all you have is the crumbling statue in the background, and then the God Kefka descending very slowly, but there's not really a whole lot of like frames of animation, so the Xdeath transition was way more hype. There's a lot more going on the screen with him sort of ripping open the wall. So, I mean, obviously, most of us agreed that the Neo Xdeath transition was better. But still, it's God Kefka. How can you not get excited? Like, if you played the FF6, you gotta get excited.
And that was the big thing. It was really loyal to Final Fantasy VI. And then you remember that it wasn't a very interesting phase transition in Final Fantasy VI. Like, it was epic for the time, but it is the same thing. The tower crumbles, and then God Kefka comes down. It's the exact same audio cues to the Dancing Mad and everything.
And though there's no end of it,
yeah,
it's still missing a part.
Well, until you get to God Kefka, and then you'll get it. I still feel sad for the normal mode people who get to the third of the fourth part of Dancing Mad, and then it's like, hey, and then they got to go Google the rest of it.
Yeah. Kyo, aesthetically, which did you prefer? Because both aesthetically, it kind of feel meh. Both Xdeath and Kefka. Which do you prefer aesthetically?
The non-god version, you mean? The Faust?
Or include both.
So I liked Kefka's a little bit more overall, but at the same time, I have a lot of complaints about the Kefka that it's like it could have been better, but it, like in particular color scheme of the last phase aesthetically is really not friendly. Like yellow AoEs on top of a yellow arena.
Sky.
I'm colorblind. I didn't have problems with this. I've had years of practice at this point.
It's just, I mean, it's frustrating to try to dodge Trine effectively when it's the same color.
Oh, listen, Trine was a totally different problem. Remembering that the AoEs came out of the points for me was a much bigger problem than the color scheme.
Yeah, I didn't struggle with it too much, but I understand the complaints.
Yeah, I have a hard time choosing between Kefka and Neo X-Death in terms of that, because I really like the way the arena looks during Grand Cross Omega, or Grand Cross in general. Like with it, like you're speeding through the void. Also, he punched his way out of a void vagina. Like, you don't get to see that very often.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what Neo means. Neo is like newborn. That's his thing. So
it's a boy.
It's a boy. Yeah, that's it's a boy and a girl and a lion and whatever the fuck else is attached to him.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, I don't know how you could say it any other way.
A void vagina.
Yeah, a void vagina.
But I will say aesthetically, one of the nice things is they managed to reinvent those Grand Crosses in God Kefka without the debuff overload that we're used to. Like, it was kind of cool. Like, aesthetically, I really like that they did that. They managed to do a gavel mechanic, which is basically what all the Forsakens were, without debuff overload. So it was like them sort of experimenting, because up until now, that's how they did all those phases. Every fight. It's how they do a gavel. They do debuff insanity. So, yeah, I like that aesthetically. I think it's better when there's more to it than just the same thing.
All right, so then with God Kefka, God Kefka obviously was the majority of your prog, just hours wise. I'd imagine at least it was longer than the normal mode Kefka prog.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so what was the first big stopgap here? Because when I got for me it was for every Forsaken was a huge stopgap, and then after that it was kind of like, I guess, more manageable. Other than that.
So this is a very easy answer. 100% Forsaken 1. The very first Forsaken was our longest, what the hell is happening? Because we didn't realize for the longest time that it was White Hole. There was a full HP mechanic. Like, there's no indication that it's a full HP mechanic. It was just pure accident that we had people at full HP a couple pulls and we saw, wait, the debuff is shorter. And it was just, what is going on here? The debuff is occasionally shorter. Maybe it's fixed people. We went through so many pulls of just not understanding what was happening. And then we all got so angry when it was actually White Hole. It's like, I hate this mechanic.
Yeah. So the only... it just eventually came down to it. Like, we were out of ideas. That's the only way we figured it out. We were just straight up out of ideas. It's like, what if we need to be at full health? What was the only difference that last pull? And it was, well, the tanks were at full health and they were fine. Because what would happen is, like, the tanks would be full health because whatever, like, you just want them at full health. And then, well, and then we'd be like, okay, so the mechanic here must be that the tanks are responsible for the heads. And then I fucking hated the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, man. How many pulls did it take for you to get that one?
Too many. I want to say, well, I mean, those were short pulls, right? Because it's really early in the fight, which is good, because I think that the more complicated mechanics like that going early on is better, because then you get more pulls, you get more time bashing your head on it without throwing away a 7-8 minute pull per attempt. So, but we spent probably like, I don't know, 10 to 12 to 15 pulls, something, just playing around with different things until we figured out it was White Hole. I still remember the first time it was just like when we realized that there were shorter debuffs, the conversation was
livid.
Yeah, it was a little bit of anger, a little bit of confusion.
But no way.
There. Once we realized it was debuff length, it only took a couple more pulls after that to isolate it was White Hole.
And after that, it's I think a lot of people see everything that's going on during the Heartless Archangel, which is I guess it's kind of, even though it's within Forsaken, people just call that whole mechanic Heartless Archangel because of that being the main cast that causes the white hole. Everything else after that for that Forsaken kind of just falls into place really quick because the heads, whatever, you hit the heads once and you realize that it's only X amount of damage, and then double drill, as you referred to it.
Oh yeah, how long did it take you guys to figure out you could take your own tether?
So we had a bunch of polls where it happened, and we kind of just didn't think much about it. We would maybe die to it, but we didn't die for any extravagant reason. We'd die and be like, well, I only took 15k damage. I got magic vuln up, so that doesn't seem that bad. But then we still tried a bunch of other stuff and eventually just landed on do it yourself. As soon as we realized that it was white hole and all of our lengths could be brought down to 4 seconds, like, oh, we can just take our own. Pretty much it was the very next dot that was drawn there.
See, I think we pretty much assumed it was A8 Savage and you couldn't take your own orb kind of thing from legislation. And so we were evading our own tethers for a while.
Oh, I forgot about legislation.
Well, we had just gotten done practicing with that before Prog, so that was fresh in our minds.
Yeah, and I guess that's another thing with Prog, is a lot of people kind of, it happens a lot, and even if you know that you don't want it to happen, it happens, is telling yourself you know a mechanic before you're actually sure you know a mechanic. Just like seeing something and immediately relating it to something else without actually testing it first. That can get you.
Yeah, it's dangerous. And it cost us a couple pulls, like figuring out that you could take your own. I still remember the question. I don't remember who asked it, but somebody asked in Rage Chat, was like, have you guys tried taking your own head? And then someone did the next poll and it was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just take our own.
Giggity. I had to whisper one of those giggities in.
Excuse Happy.
No, I raided with him. Are you kidding me? He knows. You don't have to apologize for me with him. That'd be like Layla I haven't even raided with, and I wouldn't tell you to apologize for him either. But he's got another however long to write his diss track, so it's all right.
I know all the Haplude. Yep.
Haplude? Is that it's way more than that. There's a lot of much worse jokes sprinkled in there on top of Haplude. Much worse.
Yes.
Right. So first Forsaken goes by Heartless Archangel, Double Drills, Light of Judgment, whatever.
When you refer to Double Drill, you're talking about
Wings of Destruction.
A6.
Yeah, so it's the one where the nearest person and the farthest person. And it's the tanks. Okay. Yeah, and you want it to be the tanks.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing you'll learn very quickly is that sometimes healers, at least we had this experience where healers were very focused on, okay, let me get these tanks topped for Wings of Destruction, before then realizing they're sitting in the middle of the hitbox as it's happening. We had that. We had a lot of people. The constant call out there was, okay, max melee range, please. And then the tank would go max melee range. Not you.
Yeah. Dude, we got annihilated by Wings of Destruction so many times before we got that right. Yeah, I know the feel. Yeah. That was before we figured out the white hole, though. Like, we would just see that animation happening. We still didn't know what white hole was, and we would still be sorting out Double Drill.
I think we actually did figure out Wings of Destruction before we figured out that it was white hole. We just had a pull where we happened to be full health, and we just did it and survived with 6 people. And then we got Wings of Destruction, and like, oh, that's Double Drill. Like, in one try, like, oh, that's Double Drill. And then we were like, okay, but we don't know how to do Heartless Archangel yet. So I don't think we should focus on that.
I was so tunneled on the healing aspect of things, I didn't even notice it was Double Drill until someone said, like, oh, yeah, you just need to go max melee. Okay.
Yeah, I meant to ask, at what hour were you at God Kefka in terms of the day? In terms of, like, however many hours you've been on that day?
I can't remember that off the top of my head, but if I go to the spreadsheet here, I can figure it out.
Yeah, the spreadsheet has the time for 07 Savage kill, doesn't it?
It doesn't have the Kefka kill because we didn't report that. I think most groups didn't report the regular Kefka kill as opposed to.
Oh, okay. I was thinking normal mode Kefka. When did you get to normal mode? Yeah.
Yeah, we got to normal mode Kefka at Right, this is in GMT.
Again, what's the time in GMT? What does it say?
Wait, who? What?
What does the time say in GMT?
Oh, it says we cleared at 16:28.
16:28 GMT. So I'm west. I think it depends on daylight saving. It's either 9 or 10 for West Coast, and either 6 or 7 for East. So I don't know where we are. I think it's 10 hours difference right now for West Coast. So that would be, Jesus Christ. That means that it was only like 10 something in the morning when you got to original Kefka.
So I think it came up. The servers came up at 10 GMT.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that's right because we killed V5 at 11:20 GMT, and that's including all the normal mode stuff. So we were about, I want to say 8 hours into Prog when we started on God Kafka or so. About 8 hours.
Oh, my bad. EST is GMT minus 5, so I'm GMT minus 8, and then it changes with daylight savings. Okay, so it's 8 hour difference. My bad.
Sorry, what was
how much? Yeah, how much fatigue had set in by the time you reached God Kefka?
A lot. I mean, it wasn't a lot at the beginning of God Kefka, but there was definitely a point at which I want to say when we reached the like 14-hour mark or so, where it's just really heavily weighing on us. You know, the last 3 hours of Prog were tough. When we hit God Kefka, you know, as soon as you make progression, there's a huge burst of adrenaline. You always get the adrenaline burst, like, let's go. You know, we did it. New stuff. But after 4 or 5 hours of that, you just start to get tired and the fatigue hits you. So there's definitely a race in a sense. You're racing against your own fatigue because there comes a point where you can't progress anymore because you're too tired. You just keep making too many mistakes. You need to rest. And when it's a one-day tier, you're racing that sort of timeout.
Yeah, it's like when you're in Texas and you're like, I could eat the 64-ounce steak, right? And there's a point where you kind of just got to eat fast because you know that if you eat slow, you're going to hit the meat wall, and you don't want to hit the meat wall. You're trying to plow. It's like that.
You say this like you're a professional eater.
I eat a lot. Sly. I know
how. I know the 64-ounce steak.
No, I really want to though.
Oh God.
Consider that a goal. I'll eat a 64-ounce steak easy. I'll do that when 4.4 comes out, so I can just have a race of my own.
Okay.
Yeah, why not? All right. So racing the fatigue. So you got through first Forsaken. So it sounds like second Forsaken didn't take you as long. For us, it took about the same time to figure out second Forsaken. It just took a pull of getting all 8 people alive there.
I feel like first pull, we got lucky, and we got I think our very first pull to second Forsaken, we had 7 people alive. So there was some mechanical mishmash, like things were on the wrong people. But the very second time we got there, we had all 8 up, and that was lucky. Because when we had all 8 up, we threw away the info we got from the 7 pull, and we kept the stuff from the 8 people alive pull, and we just made assumptions based on that, on what roles get what and go where. And that was really helpful. Like, I'm glad we got that early, because that's what helped us excel quickly through that phase.
I have a question. Did you ever figure out that the prey markers were on the farthest DPS there too? We didn't.
No, we didn't. It was just random. We call it out every time. But what we got lucky with was we got freaking Future's End, like 4 pulls in a row.
This happened to us.
And then like the 5th pull, we got past Send, and just everybody died. And we were like, huh? And we had to go back and look at the footage and be like, oh, he cast a different spell.
So he does a Future's End or a Past End, or he does like Future's... I don't think it's called Future's End when he does it outside of Forsaken, because he does like one of those right before or after the...
Future's Numbered.
Yeah, Future's Numbered. That's the name. We, I think 8 times in a row got Past End there, so we thought it could only be Past End when he does the dash attack in the normal phase, not even in the Forsaken phase. And then when we got Future's Numbered, deer in headlights, except that the headlight is a giant dude who's gonna beat the shit out of you when he runs.
So Future's front, pass behind.
Future's front, pass behind. I mean, you don't even need to know the second word really. You just need to know future and past, which is pretty self-explanatory. But when you get only one for like so many pulls, and then you finally see the other for the first time, it's not a pleasant experience.
To be clear, though, I actually would prefer it be that way, because if it's pass send on the second pull, you start to think you did something else wrong. But if you get the exact same mechanic twice in a row, you at least get to test if everything else you did in the pull was correct. And it was. Like our very second time we did that with a plan, everything went mostly correctly, except like I think we cleaved the tanks with the facing for Future's End.
Yeah.
And that was just like a minor thing, like, oh, we know what we did wrong, just go do it again. So we had ironed out everything else, and then we got the pass in and it was like, oh, that's an easy fix. Just I snapped again. You faced them the other way.
I'll snap with you, man. I like snapping. I'm a snapper. I can only like kind of do it though. I don't have the friction, I guess, the right friction. Yeah, and I see you answering some additional questions in the chat about pre-pulling Adlos over there.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just a real quick like you want to chain pull in Prog. Like the pre-pull stuff is just a waste of time. You don't need the 15-second pre-pull. That's DPS optimization, and in Prog you're just dying to mechanics, so you're not. DPS doesn't matter.
Can you at least give me like 3 seconds to change form and charge my chakras though?
I mean, you just do that when we respawn because you know we're going to pull.
I do, and I'm 4 stacks into my chakra and the boss has been pulled.
If it comes to that point, like it's been that long, then we do a 5-second countdown.
Oh,
like
I love
if
it. I love
if it's not a chain pull, then it's a 5-second.
I like
and
5 seconds.
Yeah,
I can appreciate that.
I mean, we had a monk in our party too, so
yeah, your monk.
And you bring up a good point about chain pulling because we kind of start to do that. At what point do you kind of stop and take a breather and talk about mechanics or anything?
As soon as you don't know what to do to move forward, like you've hit something
Okay.
where you guys died and you don't know why you died, and so it's pointless to go pull and then die to that same thing again without any kind of plan. So that's the point at which you review the footage. Sometimes the decision can be the footage we got was not good enough. We actually need to go die to that again to get better footage. Like I said, the 7-man Forsaken, where we got there and the debuffs were flip-flopped. It was like, we need a clean one to that phase. And so we pulled again and we got a clean one. We had a basic idea of what we wanted to do, but it was still like, we need to get there with 8 and then just die again and then make a plan. So
Dying is part of the learning process.
It is.
Not everyone likes that. I've seen forum posts of people who are like, shouldn't have to die to figure something out. And I'm just like, no, most of the time it's pretty good to figure something out when you die.
The fuck?
I have a controversial answer for Narnan in chat, by the way, of something he's saying. He's basically talking about summoner and chain pulls. I would never bring a summoner to Prog. Sorry.
Oh yeah, so there's 2 reasons. For the other reason is even scholars kind of have to deal with this, but it's not as bad for them. Summoners want you to wait for them to use ether flow and then wait like 30 seconds.
Yeah, our red mage and summoner were like last night for our first few pulls of 5, and then we said fuck that noise. So
yeah,
I can agree.
Yeah.
I just think red mage is just way too good for Prog. It's just way too good. Like the auto raises is so potent that why would you lose that for a summoner? I mean, you can do it for the sake of fun if the caster just really doesn't play red mage, but it's just like I'm in a group that races, so we're always gonna have a red mage.
Yeah, I remember seeing red mage and being like, I was thinking, would summoner be better? And then the scholar, when we were going for actual like DPS pulls, he said, just give me 20 seconds before you go so I can get my ether flows right for the start of the fight. Like on like going for kill pulls. I was like, summoner would have been asking. If I've been bitching about change form this whole time, then that summoner is going to be is going to be complaining about everything else. Oh man.
Yeah, sorry. To clarify, I was mostly in like when you're asking me my opinion, Narnan, it's about like racing progression. That's why red mage is the thing.
Yeah, casual progression doesn't matter what the fuck you do.
Casual progression, you probably do countdowns for every pull too. Like why you might as well start going. You're going to go with you also already have strats probably, so you don't need to like info out stuff. But in like blind Prog, you need info, and info you get from pulls. So you just got as many as you can.
Pulls equal info. Countdown equals less pulls equals less info. It's math, really.
Exactly.
Or science, I guess, Sly, as you referred to with 07. Science. For the science thing, we're talking about how they were caster LB throwing Biblio and the boss. And it's like, mathematically, it sounds like it makes sense, but it ends up practically not working. If that makes sense. As Slyh shakes his head because he was tired of Caster LB3ing the fucking Biblio plus the boss.
I had to beg the raid last night. Like, please, can we just, like, for science, if this doesn't work, we'll fucking go back to what we're doing. We got to enrage at least 4 times last night. Let's just try it, please. And it worked finally.
You did it, Slyh. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I mean, you did get to convince them to do the LB1 and then LB3. I saw that. LB1 early and then LB3 them both later. And then you guys did it once and never did it.
Yeah, going back on that, I wasn't a big fan of that when I said it. I'm like, wait, let me think about that. No.
It was better than, I mean, it was better than sitting on LB3 until the last 25% of the boss.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I guess, what is your opinion on LB3? Because I had a large discussion with Hammer, Kyo, about LB3, like Castrel being multiple targets in Prog in general. And the general consensus is if you have to commit to killing the enemy anyway, and that LB3 only kind of tickles it, then might as well not do it.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
So, committing a caster LB3 to multiple enemies in Prog, when it's something like Bibliotaph, where it's only going to do 25% of his HP, even though mathematically speaking, it's more potency across the 2 targets than the LB3 is across the 1 on Guardian. How do you feel about that if you still have to commit to killing the something like the Bibliotaph anyway, even when you cast your LB3?
I think the gains are a little bit diminished by the fact that you still, all that damage you're getting there is cleave, like a lot of it's cleave. So you're cutting back on cleave time. So that's taking away from the value difference between LB3 and caster LB3 and melee LB3. Ultimately, what it comes down to is how long are you sitting on melee LB? Because if you're sitting on it for long, you're going to cost yourself a melee LB at the end. So it's like if you have to hold that melee LB for like a minute to be able to cleave both with a caster LB, it may not be worth it based on what you're losing at the end. So usually it's just, we get LB3, we use it. If we're going for an enrage push. If we're not going for an enrage push, you don't use it anyway because you're saving it for healer or tank LB. So.
Yeah, that's always the truth. Yeah, that was our general consensus. And then we got to use it to LB3 one of the fucking Void Knights. And then we had to kill Biblio. It didn't even fucking go to anything anyway. Yeah, I felt bad because you guys barely got LB1 at the end. Slyh was all sad.
Don't remind me.
I just did though. Speaking of LB, I guess that's one thing we never really hit on with Kefka is how much fucking LB you get on that fight if you just shield everything. For anyone who doesn't know this, if a shield, specifically a damage shield, saves you from fatal damage, you generate bonus LB. And considering Heartless Angel plus the meteors is always going to be saved by shields, you get a shit ton of LB pretty much every Heartless Angel, plus any other mechanic that would otherwise be saved.
So
Heartless Angel actually does 0 damage. Like even if you don't have shields.
No, I mean because your shields stay through it. It's percentage health damage. Like your shield persist.
There were pulls where I got no shield up. I just didn't get it up in time. Heartless Angel, giggity. And Heartless Archangel
I made the face. I was so happy that he did it.
And Heartless Archangel hits, and people would stand in the towers, and it literally just did 0 with no shield. Maybe there was a DV or a shake, but I'm pretty sure that actually doesn't do damage.
See, I feel like I died to that. I gotta look back because I swear I've died to the meteor hit before, and not like only eating it alone, taking the hit. But I feel like I've died to that meteor doing damage to me. But I'll have to double check.
I'm pretty sure like 95% that they don't do damage, but at the same time, I can't rule out there being a shake or a DV on that one time. I know I didn't have Sucker up a couple pulls.
Messing up a test. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just messed up towers and I screwed it up. But then the heads. The heads is where you make room. Getting really good at popping the heads when you're still like missing health feels real good for LB. Because a spread Adlo on those heads is like an LB and a half. Practically.
Oh, there were tons of pulls where I got the spread Adlo there and it was a crit. I'm like, just go ahead and take your head right away. You don't have to wait. Just go get it. It was the LB just pops up. We would actually LB in that first Forsaken some of the time because of the LB gen. We didn't have to wait for the light. Say what?
For Prog's sake?
No. For Prog's sake, we didn't LB at all. But when we were nearing the Enrage, we were starting to talk about melee LB usage, and we were doing it sometimes in Forsaken. And for Prog's sake, it was always sit on the LB for healer LB every time.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me when you can play for LB in progression, like after you've seen all the way to the end, and how much people actively will do that. Obviously, it's not the same as Twintanya cleaving the whole fucking group like people used to do back in turn 5, and I hope they weren't doing it in Ultimate, because I don't want to do that. Did you
I think
do
some
it?
people.
Some people probably. I mean, it was a strategy back in turn 5 for groups that needed the LB for Asclepius or wanted the LB3 for Asclepius.
And we were already.
Yeah, people would just stack up the whole group on a plummet and just like shield through it.
Probably could do that for like a speed run, but nobody has actually, as far as I know, attempted speed runs of Ultimate because that just sounds silly. Of Unending Coil.
Yeah, it's a little. There's only so much time you save doing that.
You
fight fast.
You can already LB cheese the heck out of the fireballs by just having the tanks don't stack. That's what we do. We have the 6 people stack for the 2 fireballs at the beginning.
That's what we do. Yeah, that's what we do. Well, yeah, I know that's what we do because I was there. You were there. Of course. Duh. No shit, that's what we did. You were only the fucking person who put it together. Oh, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always find that interesting, LB strats when going into Prog, because I think a lot of people forget that you get bonus LB generation from stuff like that. Like, and it's worth mentioning that if you like Addle or I guess what's another one? Dismantle, or like I guess Reprisal or any of those. That actually isn't the same as a shield saving you. That actually makes it harder to get the LB generation. So
the damage actually needs to be fatal before DV, Shake, or Sucker are applied. Or Adlo deploy. Which
is why it's great when you can LB3 cheese something like Byakko and then instantly get an LB and a half back. Because the tank LB3 also counts for the same thing. It counts as a shield for some reason.
I don't know if you ever saw the Momo-sama actually has a video that's a perfect illustration of this, where we cheese the GA100 and A11, and we get a full LB3 bar out of the GA100 hitting. And then he does another pull where we get none. And it's basically almost the exact same thing happening in both pulls. It was just immense what the difference was, lowering the mitigation enough to where the damage would actually have killed us without the shields. It was just dramatic difference in LP gen.
Basically, if your sphincter is made tight by the mechanic, then you probably got more LB.
I think it was we got a crit deploy at that point, which was why it was easier for us to, we screwed up a bunch of the stuff, but there was a crit deploy. So it didn't matter.
The skills. Okay, so I'm going to ask you about Trine now.
All right.
What do you think of Trine?
I love mechanics where the raiders see it and they're like, oh, this is easy. And then they get their head smashed. I love mechanics like that. Exaflare is perfect. This is the easiest mechanic ever.
Yeah, I ate my words on Exaflare a few times.
I love it. I don't know what it is. Raiders eating their words is just
Missiles in 07 was also a situation where it was talk shit, get hit. Yeah. So Trine, how did that throw you? Because I'm sure you guys thought the same thing. Oh, it's Titan bombs.
Oh yeah, of course.
That was the first thing. And then what was the reaction immediately after seeing the AoEs come up?
I mean, they come off the corners of the tips of the triangles.
I didn't realize it for like 3 hours that they came off the tips. I just thought that the AoEs looked fucked up. I just never noticed they came off the tips. It aggravated me when I figured it out. God damn it. Kia, you're so smart. You know that?
I mean, it was one of those things where it just happened to see it.
Geometry, man.
Yeah, I think it was like the second pull I saw it. I was looking at it and going, those are off the tips, so watch out. And then it didn't matter. People kept getting hit by it anyway. It's like, okay.
Yeah, just the tip.
It's a tough to process mechanic. Like in our heads, it's hard to realize where the danger zones are looking at the triangles, which is really interesting. I don't know why that's so hard to process, but myself included, it's hard for me to see where the actual danger zones are.
Yeah, in the kill video, you got clipped by a Trine.
Yeah, I did.
Because you can think you're dodging around the ones that are about to explode, but you're like trying to stay close to them because you don't want to be like all the way to the wall, and you end up getting clipped by one of the circles. That's what I noticed happen.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten better at it since then, but definitely. You think you're just thinking in your head from like the zone of 3 to 1. You're not actually thinking about the little edges that are further out, danger zones that are further out, which is the corners. I don't know.
And then Big Trine's a joke.
Yeah, Big Trine is way easy by comparison.
Yeah, I really like Big. I didn't like Big Trine when it was in the center of the room because that safe zone feels a lot smaller than the one on the outside. I don't know why. I don't know. Just people would be like a step off, like just tiny bit, and then it just clipped and then dead because of the other thing that happens at the same time. Then you go into so we called it Super Forsaken. The third one, the third and fourth Forsakens. I don't know if you guys just said Forsaken 3 or
yeah, we did.
It's not as cool as us. That's fine. All right. Super Forsaken oddly felt like at that point the easiest one. I don't know about you, but unlike Grand Cross Omega, which felt like the culmination of all of them, this one felt like just the culmination of the base Kefka form and then Heartless Archangel. And I don't know. This one was the easiest to figure out, I felt.
Yeah, it was repeats of all mechanics we've seen before. The Grand Cross Omega, that fight was definitely Forsaken 2. Forsaken 2 was the most tricky one. 3 and 4 were just...
I was surprised you only had to do Forsaken 2 once. I really thought they would have made us do Forsaken 2 another time, as opposed to only a single time. That was kind of weird about the whole fight, I guess. Grand Cross Omega, you only do once. Grand Cross Alpha, you do twice. And Delta, you do twice. But you only do Omega once. And here, the Omega, technically, which would be the Super Forsaken, I'm guessing by design, you have to do twice, specifically. And it's somehow easier than the other ones. So you guys probably didn't get stuck on that one for very long.
No. Once we beat Forsaken 2, I want to say we were at Enrage within like 30 minutes. Like it was really quick. The rest of the fight was super fast after we beat Forsaken 2, because the rest was just like, oh, we know what this is. Oh, we know what this is. Oh, we know what this is. Just blasting through mechanics because they were all so easy.
Yeah, it's Big Trine, Super Forsaken, all 4 of them, I guess. Then Small Trine, Big Trine, and Super Forsaken, and then Ultima Enrage. Ultima into Enrage, pretty much. Yeah. That's the weird thing about Kefka, and that's why I've been having a hard time figuring out whether I found Kefka harder, I found Neo X-Death harder, is because of that blitz at the end of the fight being all so familiar. I mean, it's the same thing with Neo X-Death, but for some reason, people, I guess in general, had a harder time repeating Grand Cross Alpha and Grand Cross Delta, or Delta Attack, or I don't know. Just the second half of Neo X-Death, I remember a lot more disasters than the second half of God Kefka.
I thought it was really funny because all the mechanics after the second Forsaken, there were a couple mechanics that just, if you didn't know what you were doing, you just kind of looked at the floor and went, oh, and then you died. We got the Big Trine and the safe spot was in the middle, and we were like, I don't know where to go. There's no safe spot, right? Because the triangles were all in the corners and the safe spot was in the middle. We couldn't see that the safe spot was in the middle because we didn't know to look there. So we just kind of died. And then we saw the safe spot in the middle after the first death. We were like, oh, I see that. That's the safe space. And then the other one was the Wings of Destruction into the half room cleave, and then one wing. Just covered the whole arena.
Oh, so you know what? We had somebody dodge that. There's like a second window where if you dodge one and you move in and you then move out, like you can actually dodge it. But we actually thought that was the intended way to do it at first, and then we got to it again. I was like, could we just turn the boss 90 degrees? Why the fuck did we have him lined up like this?
Yeah.
It's fun stuff with God Kefka. So you did it. You got through. You were lagging your entire pull, which is why your pull looks like bullshit from your perspective, because one person dies, then 6 other people die, and it's just like, what the fuck is I was like, I saw that and I was like, what kind of bullshit RNG is this? They got so lucky. But you're saying that it's only your perspective that looked like that.
Yeah, I was getting that a lot, where people would just teleport throughout the fight. It's really minor, so you might not see it if you were looking through the video, but lots of pulls that lockout were like that, where people were just teleporting. But we didn't have VPNs on because where mine wasn't working when I first logged in. It disconnected me. So I just did the entire prog without a VPN, and that's awful. So,
but no, honestly, it paid off, it seems. I don't know, your correlation to world firsts and no VPNs, it's a pretty good ratio right now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So after it was all said and done, I guess technically 14 hours of specifically Savage gameplay. if you want to take an hour out for normal and an hour out for maintenance. And I think Neo X Death. How long did it take you to beat Neo X Death? Because I think it was world firsted in 14 hours, but it wasn't. It was Anchored who had it for that one, if I remember correctly. So how do you feel about them taking about the same time, I guess, to get world firsted?
So, sorry, I don't understand. The taking about the same.
How do you feel about Neo X Death Prog versus God Kefka? I guess the culmination of the entire race being about the same period of time, despite people having their differences in opinion on difficulty.
So I think that we had a lot more time to study normal mode Deltascape, and that was actually a big factor, in at least the first 2 floors. But I'd say the difficulty stayed around the same. Yeah, I think the hours represent the difficulties between the two were a little about the same. Like this time, the fight was a little harder. We're better at our jobs because I mean we were brand new Stormblood when Deltascape came out. Still, it was only 4 weeks in. And so we're better at our jobs, and we had less exposure to normal mode. So that's where they sort of equaled out.
Do you think Ultimate played a role in that at all?
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's part of what made us better at our jobs. It sort of pushed us to our limits. We figured out what the jobs could do in that fight.
Is there anything you would like to see in the next tier that you kind of felt was lacking in this one?
You mean like the next even tier or the next Ultimate? The even tier. I just wish there were a few more fights, honestly, but that's probably not going to happen. But I do wish.
Sly, that sounds familiar, doesn't it?
I think
I know someone else who says that every fucking patch.
Yeah.
Do you know who it is?
You?
Oh, I was hoping you would give me a smart ass answer. I was ready. I was all ready for it.
Just 1 or 2 more fights would be perfect. It's just barely too short. But I mean, this tier was really satisfying, so I can't really complain.
How do you feel about the normal mode peeps not getting the God Kefkas and what? Especially with something like Dancing Mad, where it's super recognizable. We kind of touched on it earlier, but we didn't ask you what you thought.
I mean, I've always liked the idea that there's something to work for story-wise. Like that if you put in a lot of effort and time and blood and sweat into this game and like get good enough to go into the Savage raids and complete them, that you're rewarded with something. So I really like that those are gated. I think it encourages people to become raiders, and I think it's a good thing for the community. Yeah, that's about it, I guess.
2 questions. Any pieces of advice for people going through Prog right now for Sigmascape?
Advice to people going through Prog. Don't try not to tear your group apart over mistakes. Let me tell you that I've seen so many groups gobble each other up over the simplest things during wipes. Like if you screw up and you die, I just want to say, like, one of our polls, we came back from the chimney and I freaking walked off the edge. Like we came back from the chimney, I turned around and I walked off the edge.
Okay, but that's funny.
That's hilarious.
That's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
So that definitely happened in Prog. Nobody chewed me out for it. We just kept going. And so the understanding is just that that's going to happen. People are going to do stupid things. They're going to die. They're going to eat that tank buster completely unmitigated and die from full health. Stuff like that's just going to happen. And you just got to not be too hard on your friends. I guess. Try to stay positive because groups just eat each other up. That's how most groups break, is they start being too hard on each other. So
I'd say the extent of it, you can dissect the death, but I'd say the most we ever said to each other was, dude, you really got to stop dying on that. And then we might like say why it happened. I know there's one pull, so the pull before we killed 07 Savage, Red Mage died. We thought he died because of an auto plus room-wide AoE from the Air Force ad. We found out that the Air Force ad he was on actually enraged, like days later. So he died to the auto, but it was because it hit him for 30k. And my chat was like flaming the Red Mage so hard because he died there and it was 1% and it was about to be a kill. And I was like, guys, all I'm saying is that if you're going to get auto-attacked, if you're getting auto-attacked, you're finding an ad that has an enrage and the boss you're trying to race an enrage, probably not going to blame the Red Mage for that one. Later we found out it was a DPS thing, but like everyone in my chat immediately turned to flaming him. And I tried, and then everyone says I was flaming him for some reason, even though I was defending him from my chat.
Yeah, see, like conversely, when something like that happens in our group, for example, the first thing that our healers will do, I know this from experience because it did happen, is we'll say, oh, that's our bad. We have actually flexibility in that phase to help with the ads, and we should have prioritized the higher health ones and shot more DPS spells into them. So that's actually fixable, and that was a mistake, not just all on that one person. It's like, what can you do for the group? And if as long as everyone in the role is asking that question, you usually do well. That said, you do occasionally have people that don't belong in a raid group, but I mean, I don't want to say that can't happen, but
He doesn't want to rule it out.
But it's not something you should evaluate in the middle of Prog. That's something you should evaluate in the middle of tiers, like between tiers. So, like once you're in Prog, just stick it out and support each other.
Don't belong.
It's
It
depending.
went from such an innocent conversation about analyzing to, and some people just don't belong.
I kind of felt like that was a little bit of shade. That wasn't even shade. That was a total eclipse of the sun.
There wasn't
What
shade
the
towards
fuck?
any one individual, though. It's just a general statement. I just thought it was hilarious, the change of perspective between the two.
Yeah, it's more like macro versus micro versus macro. It's like when you're in the Prog, that shouldn't be on your radar. But once you're out, you think about like macro scale. Like maybe we should shake up the roster a little bit. It happens.
I'm gonna carry that with me for a while. I like that. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Even so, as a DPS, considering our role doesn't do jack shit except kill the boss, a lot of people kind of forget that there are things you can do as a DPS to make things easy. I know one big thing was when I got the burns on 07, bloodbath for every burn, pretty much. Because the healer, I don't need, like, if I did that, the healer didn't need to, the scholar didn't have to commit an XCOG to me. I just needed a regen, and then that's it, and then it's a stack save.
Funny you should bring that up. We were thinking, like, when we were talking about like cross rolls, we just had a random conversation about it. Bloodbath came up, and like, maybe you don't need Bloodbath. I'm like,
no,
fuck
you motherfucker, you better have Bloodbath as a fucking. If you're a DPS,
exactly.
If you're a DPS progging on a fucking fight, you better have fucking Bloodbath. If it's on your roll actions, you better have Addle, you better have Faint, Arm's Length. If you don't know if there's going to be knockbacks, put that shit on before you even know, until you know if you don't need it anymore. Like, your roll actions are like super important as a fucking DPS, and like all your optional actions. If you don't do jack shit else, you might as well do something useful. Mantra?
Yes.
I DPS. Yeah, so do the tanks and the healers. and one of them got a new toy in that event or release, so I'm fucking all worried about his DPS now.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, hey, can you Brotherhood on the 4th GCD? Fuck.
Man, those times when you're as a healer, you're really stressed out, and you look over at the physical tank buster that's coming in, and you see that Palisade land on the tank. That's the real MVP right there.
That is the real MVP. Right
when
there.
you notice that you're being taken care of by your DPS, it really smooths things out.
That's teamwork. That's teamwork. We have a question from the chat that's scholar specific. Do you find any use for dissipation other than the pull?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically whenever you need stacks now. The Faerie regen and like the Fairies, ideally it's after you've popped all your skills. Like if you notice you're running low on stacks, you want to pop all the rest of the Faerie abilities so that you don't get wasted, and then dissipate for stacks, because being able to end-dom every 30 seconds is really important, and being able to XCOG as often as possible is really important. And if you're doing all that, you're gonna run out of stacks. So in Prog, it's more of a I need stacks now button, and the downtime isn't so bad since they nerfed the cast time of AOS. Now it's just a GCD. And it doesn't burn your swift cast.
I call dissipation JG Wentworth. 877 stacks now.
Yeah, there you go.
Sly, come on. Give me that one. Give me that one, Sly. Come on. Come on. Just All right, Wookie. Chewy. Come on. Give me that one.
No,
all right,
I can't.
I'll get you sometime. Don't worry.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's Sly. Do you have any other questions for Keo?
Yes. I did just ask about Prog. Any advice on anyone who wants to throw their hat into the world first race?
Oh, the world first race. That's tough because I feel like I've been trying to get in the world first race for several years now. You know, I was trying since basically since Realm Reborn was reaching the end, and a lot of it's being in the right place at the right time. But it's mostly just putting yourself out there as much as you can, putting yourself out in the world and saying like, this is something I'm interested in. You know, when my groups were looking for a member and the last couple tiers, when we'd be out looking for someone, a lot of times we'd be encouraged by somebody who was very open about, I want to do this. I'm trying really hard to put up good logs on FF logs. I'm trying really hard to get into groups to clear content as fast as possible. And I'm socializing with the endgame raiders to try to make myself known that I'm here, you know, make connections. And a lot of that's getting your foot in the door. And once you're in there and you're actually preparing for Prog, which is like a different question, like when you're actually trying to world first for the first time, a lot of that's just like, most of it's obvious stuff, like prepare, practice, get synergy with your group, establish like preset positions for things like Protean spread. Like you want to have an idea where you're going to go. But in addition to that stuff, it's also like make sure you're eating healthy for a long time before Prog, because you don't want to suddenly change your diet right before Prog. That's really bad. And make sure you're getting more than enough sleep. Sleep is actually like a really big deal for Prog. And one of the things my group did poorly this tier was when most of us didn't sleep very well. And it was really bad.
I don't know. The results speak for themselves, Kyo.
Let me just say that if it had been more than a one-day tier, it may have been different results based on our sleeping habits. So we did
about
it.
That when Ultimate comes out.
I have
Come on, the next Ultimate can't be as long of a raid tier, right?
I mean, Ultimates are designed to be long, aren't they? So
yeah, but then weren't they criticized for being a 20-minute fight? Like, if you shave 5 minutes off the fight, maybe.
Yeah, probably. Although most people got stuck at Octet, right? Which was 14
and a half minutes in, yeah. But imagine if Octet was the last thing they had to know.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they made it so you couldn't healer LB your way through it like it was currently.
Oh.
Like you could squeeze your way through that mechanic if you
tried.
I
know you could squeeze. We squeezed our way right before it, Kyo. When 6 of us died to a flare breath, and then we had to heal her.
Oh yeah,
that was on the kill. And yeah, about the networking thing. I mean, look at me. I mean, I networked the fuck out, and then Kyo put together the legend crew. That's how I got carried, right, Kyo?
I mean,
no words.
Yo, that was.
I mean.
There were 3 people that needed clears in that party, and for a lot of that party, it was their very second kill, and they were very shaky still. So that was not a carry. It was a solid Prog group.
How much rust was after that first kill, though? Was there any rust?
For a lot of the people in that group, there was some rust. Yeah, because, I mean, for one thing, we were changing the strats a bit, so they were unfamiliar.
Oh, yeah, everyone was used to the wall strat, weren't they? We went back to the mid strat for the second trio. I think that was one of them that we did.
For some, yeah. Although most of the strategies, I tried to make it familiar for those people that was their second kill. So because I wanted them to be comfortable, so I tried to change as little as possible. But some stuff, it was like, okay, we gotta do away with that. We gotta do. I don't remember, like Golden. I think we pulled it to the wall. I insisted on pulling it to the wall because it's just easier to do the exaflares at the wall.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I forgot that there was the keep in mid strat, which I always thought was kind of weird.
It's harder to see the exaflares. It's just harder to dodge them in the middle.
Man, who gets hit by exaflares?
Yeah.
Don't talk shit about mechanics. I've learned. Okay, I've learned. All right, Kyo, if you say it's not a carry, I'll accept your answer then.
Hey, man. 3 people got their legend titles on that poll that we killed it.
I know. The tornado kick I liked it. It crit.
That always feels good.
Didn't you guys kill your fucking Kefka with a tornado kick? I just remember FC chat. Tornado kick.
It was a tornado kick that finished him off. It's crazy.
Yes. We'll chalk one up for monks. Tornado kick useful. It's like the Dark Knight argument. If it was used in Prog for world first, then it's good, right? No? Okay.
Oh, sorry. My push talk. Yeah, man. The tornado kick is, I mean, sometimes it's perfect. Other times you use it and it's like, oh, I get another GCD. Oops.
Yeah, I got 2 extras.
Let's have some wet noodle GCDs. All right.
Yeah, I had 2 extras on Kefka. I was like, oh, he's like less than 0.5%. This will do it. Uh-oh. No. Okay, it's fine. Calm down. All right. Is there any other questions that we have from the chat or Sly? I'm good. Listen. If I need to ask Keo a question, I'll find this motherfucker. All right. You just.
No, I think I asked pretty much everything I want to know.
All right. Nothing else. You sure? This is. You'll never see him again.
Can I ask some questions to you guys?
Yeah.
Sure.
So what do you guys think about Sigmascape in contrast to Deltascape and Ultimate in terms of what it does for the raid scene? Do you think it's good?
Sly, you go first.
In comparison to both Deltascape and Ultimate?
Is this bringing in more raiders? Is it less? Is it healthy, unhealthy?
I think it's I felt before Sigmascape, we saw a lot of people, looking for raid groups, looking for new statics, everything. I kind of feel like Ultimate really wasn't a deterrent. It was gated. It was gated correctly, but it was still gated. And a good portion of the community couldn't, do it because they were still progging in Deltascape. I think the raid environment right now is pretty much healthy. It got a little bit healthier with Sigmascape. Mechanically speaking, like you were saying, some of the fights could be better. 7, to me, mechanically speaking, was the best fight. Even though I
wait till you're done with 8. I still think 7. I still kind of agree with you, but 8's gonna fucking make you tear your what little hair that you keep on your head out.
Now, moving forward, I like a future Ultimate. I think it'll probably keep the raid environment in the same place, and depending on what we're getting for the next tier, I don't know. You might see a little more interest in raid, but right now I think it's pretty healthy where it's at.
I'm glad they did this after everything that was Alexander. Alexander was a roller coaster of emotions in every way. Gordius was just, as much as I love A3, I'm not 99% of the player base who it ruined their fucking game pretty much. And then if A3 didn't do it, A4 did. Even for the people who beat A3 early, A4 ruined your fucking game for you because it was just such a fucking boring fight.
And then A6.
And then A6 ruined it again for a lot of people. But Midas was, like, for me, the perfect difficulty. Like, that would be where I'd personally love to see Savage every time. Mm-hmm. But I still recognize that Midas, because of how annoying Midas was, and the fact there was no mount for A8 Savage, the number of A8 Savage clears is lower than, like, any other fucking raid tier. Even Manipulator has, I think, more recorded kills than that. And then you see Creator, and it seems like it's a disappointment. But when I think of all the new people that started playing from Stormblood, I would think of the confidence as somebody said, hey, should I even try raiding? It seems really daunting. And for me to finally be able to go, yeah, you know what? Do it. You shouldn't. If you practice, you shouldn't have a problem. Just have the right mindset, and you'll go in. The fact that for the first time, I think since, God, I don't even know how long I could actually say that to people, felt really good. And I know a lot of people that said, I've never raided before. I started raiding because of Deltascape, or now I started raiding in Sigmascape. The fact that they've had confidence, even if it's because the fights are, I guess, easier than they used to be. The fact that people are encouraged to try means that some people they unlock their hidden potential. Once they get in once, they start then they go, okay, I was in a casual group, and now I kind of want to go a little bit more hardcore. And if you don't have that, what ends up happening is what happened when we were trying to recruit for Midas after Gordius. All the raiders had given up. All the good raiders were bored, and all the would have maybe been good raiders never beat A3, so they weren't even on the recruitment table half the time. That fucking destroyed. I remember conversations recruiting, but just no one to fucking recruit. Nobody's fucking raiding because Alexander Gordius destroyed the raid scene.
Yeah.
And this undid that. When people, like, I'd say a reasonable amount of people beat Ultimate. And I think it's because Sigmascape encouraged them and taught them that, hey, they wanted something a little bit more. I do think that we need more bosses for difficulty curve purposes, not necessarily for more difficulty, but for an actual curve that, like, maybe eases people in a little bit more. But I think it's right. I think that just because it gets beaten a day doesn't mean that should be what people focus on. You need to focus on everything. The scene is what matters. I think Sigmascape and Deltascape and Ultimate are actually all in the right place to do it. They just need some minor adjustments.
Yeah, and I actually don't think anybody has a problem with the 1 day kill time anymore. I think that's gone. Like, the reason everybody was so upset was because that was all we got for 6 months. It's like, we got this tier, it's dead in a day, and then see you in 6 months, see you in half a year for more raid content. That's how it was. And now it's like, oh, well, in 3 months, we'll get a real challenging tier. So it's...
And you had to beat this to get to that real challenging tier.
Yeah.
Worth remembering, you will need to have beaten Sigmascape Savage in the next Ultimate, for anyone who doesn't know. You won't need Deltascape, but you'll need Sigmascape, almost definitely. I doubt they ungate that, which would seem to be one of the things you said before, like maybe if people could try Ultimate without needing it, they might... I don't know. I feel like it's almost no business being an Ultimate if you haven't beaten Savage, but it seemed like that was the point you were trying to make earlier, that if people maybe had more access to it, they might have a prolonged interest in pursuing it versus needing to go through Deltascape first. I don't know. That's not how I feel. I feel like if you're not motivated enough to get through the easy raid tier, you're not going to be nearly motivated enough to get through the Ultimate raid tier.
Yeah, true. 100%.
Right.
There's an interesting question that's being asked in chat by Narnan that brought up a point I haven't seen anybody talking about, but it's one of the things I'd really like them to change about the raid tier. And that's that if they made it so that normal mode was delayed instead of savage mode being delayed. Like, what if, just a big what if Savage came out and then 2 weeks later normal mode came out?
So I've always been on the fence about that, but I eventually lean towards being perfectly okay with it. I feel that most content in the game is gated towards, or I guess geared towards the normal mode, where normal mode sits difficulty-wise anyway. So, and it kind of makes the story one of the more valuable things for the first 2 weeks. People who really want to get that story the first 2 weeks. It's something that's, it depends on if you give a shit about the story. But I remember going through Coil and everyone being like, all right, I'm shutting you all the fuck up. I'm watching the cutscene. All right. It's like the opposite of normal mode now, where it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't watch it after we fucking world first. So fucking hurry up. Get the fuck out of there. Whereas even if you were world first racing in Coil, people were like, oh, fucking, this is what I world firsted for. This is what we were doing it for. All right. I need to see this cutscene right now. So
yeah.
I actually do kind of like the idea, but at the same time, there's the other side of it where some people want normal mode gear before they go into Savage, and then them waiting 2 weeks is dead time for them, and and then all you have is Byakko if you're not doing it. So,
well, the alternative could be that like you delay it by a day instead of a week or 2 weeks.
But yeah, I mean, it'll be cleared in a day, so I guess.
I mean,
you do it like a crafting weekly used to be on like Thursday.
It would shake things up a bit. I think it would be interesting. So I don't see very many people talking about that. So gotta bring it up.
Yeah, it's been a long time since the topic's come up. I'm still waiting for people to bring up the topic of going back to the brute justice way of doing Savage and not the Neo X-Death way of doing Savage, where there's a 3-minute phase that's exclusive, but not necessarily a whole fight, which I think has its own merits and demerits as well. Also, so they don't just keep doing a 60%, because if Omega enrages at 60% and becomes super Voltron Omega after, I'm gonna be like, all right, come on now, like you need to fucking come up with a different. Like, it was a fun idea the first time, it kind of was okay the second time. You can't do it 3 times in a fucking row.
It would be the 4th time before.
Are you including Ultimate?
Yeah, Ultimate is a 59%.
Yes, technically. There was never, that fight was never that way to begin with. Though. Like, there was never a Twin Tanya plus Nail phase to begin with at the same time. Like, I don't know. I don't look at it the same way. Look at Golden as a brand new experience compared to the original. But
I was just referring to the Bahamut 60% push, though. Like, there is a 60%
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you mean for before going into the ad phase in Golden Bahamut. Yeah, stop using 60%. We fucking see through your shit. All right? You can't keep using 60%. You can't just keep repeating that. Like, it's great when a formula works, and 14 is built off formulas, but every time they shake it up outside of Diadem, it's generally works. That's like, I guess that's like the only time other than Lord. So maybe not the best. We got Eureka in 4 weeks. We'll see if they learn. It's in Slyh. Shut the fuck up. It's in 4 weeks.
I haven't said a goddamn.
The live letter is you gave me the look that it's you gave me the I'm calling it the 4.3 look.
No, it has a name.
It has a name. It's the 4. No, it's Saturday is the live letter about it, Slyh.
Okay.
I'm gonna fly to North Carolina.
I have not said a goddamn thing. Happy.
I'm gonna piss in your grits. Listen, I'm warning you. Don't tempt me. I know you like 0.3s more than anyone else, but this is not a case where it works. All right.
I still haven't said anything, Happy.
You gave me the look.
Misplaced anger.
You gave me the look.
Misplaced anger.
No, it's in the right place. Not saying it doesn't mean you're not thinking it. And I can see what you're thinking.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, Kia?
No, I think I'm good.
I think you're good. You don't want to throw your hat in the Eureka conversation?
Oh boy. I don't know what I would ask. I'm sort of right?
Are you even gonna do Eureka? Like,
hell yeah, I'm gonna do.
Hell yeah! You sound way more excited about it than most people.
I mean, I'm in deep, man. You know, me and Chia work on achievements together.
Oh
so.
God, I forgot about Chia. How could I forget about Chia? Chia was following me when I was hunting the other day. He would fly behind me, but like out of sight, and then I turn around and I just see him in the air, and he'd be like, "Don't worry about me." It's like, Chia, you're never gonna get this tiger anyway. Give up. You and him are never getting that tiger, Kia. You guys do not like hunting enough.
Oh no, it's not about the tiger, dude. It's about efficiency. You got achievement points per unit time. That's all.
There's achievements for 100 and 200 of them, though.
Yeah, I've gotten those though. Like I got all the affordable ones. I'm just not gonna get the tiger.
He needs to be on the 14-hour live stream.
Yeah, no, Chia. Well, I think Chia could do it for 14 hours. He'd be like, okay, how many achievements can I get in 14 hours? She's a monster. You guys are fucking maniacs.
Yeah.
They're not even good achievements. They're such shitty achievements, and you still do them. I don't know how you do it. They're reworking the achievement system soon, though, apparently, with new exciting achievements.
I like the point system they've added and the fact that they actually give us something to buy with it now. So.
Too bad we have all that shit because we've been playing this game for 4 years.
Well, no, they added the mount, right? The magic
claw. That's like the first thing they've added. The claw and the minion, the Koba Inu or something.
Yeah. They're giving us stuff now, stuff to use.
It's gonna be
excited.
I don't know when we'll have. Well, I don't know. By the time we go through all those, we're gonna have we're never gonna be out of achievement certificates. I feel we need better achievements, more fun achievements. We need raid achievements.
Well, you don't like getting 1,000 Astrologos wins?
I don't like getting 10. I didn't have enough. I barely got over 10 of them before I said I'm done with this.
I have 5. Yay.
Yeah, you see, you get the claw for less achievement tokens than you get by the time you get to level 40 on your first job.
Yeah. I mean, it's supposed to not really be gated, right? So
no, not at all, apparently. All right, well, I think if Slyh doesn't have anything, I don't have anything, and Kyo doesn't have anything, I think we can wrap this one up.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. All right, so before we do our outros, I'm going to do our sponsor thank now, because I'm tired of Slyh grilling me when I do it at the end because he's afraid.
When's the last time I've grilled you about this?
It's the last time I almost forgot at the end of the show. And I never forgot that look. Exactly. See?
Okay. Fair point.
Yeah, fair point. So this is, we have a bunch of sponsors over on Patreon to combat #demonetized, which, that's, what are you going to do? It's been happening, right?
Blood.
Thanks. I mean, we said cocaine at the start of the show, but yeah, we'll throw that one in there as well. That they won't catch that one till later.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, let me make sure that my list is accurate here. Yeah, it looks to be mostly in place. So just noticed that the outro is not 100% correct, but luckily I can fix that before we switch to it. So I'm actually going to start by thanking our patron of light. I'm going to thank him first, Khuja Cross of Jenova. We don't have Mary here this week, unfortunately. So I guess
you can't do the Jesus voice.
I mean, I could. I've got like a coffee cup here from this morning. I could do like the patron of light. Oh yes, the patron of light.
Now you just sound like Bane.
That's the point. I'm doing that's Bane.
Bane's not Jesus.
I mean, have you seen how much Tom Brady had to work out for or whatever his fucking name is? What's the actual actor's name? It's not Tom Brady. Tom Brady's fucking that's football. That's why he's on my mind. Tom Hardy. Hardy, that's why. Yeah. Tom Brady's on
I was like, wait, what?
Tom Brady's on my mind because
was Tom Brady Bane.
Yeah, Tom Brady would play a great Bane. I'm convinced of that. All right, so thank you to him first. Then we have our standard sponsors. We have Kat Ayoshi from Khuja. We have, my list is all kinds of fucked up still from the beginning of February. Here we go. We have Kefir and the Grey Eagles on Exodus. We have Skia Symphonia from Ragnarok, Rylanator, Westaur, the Purple Warrior, Rah Xephon, Eadric Redsteele on Exodus, Lexxie Valentine, Mantaru the Rivivus FC on Zodiark. We have Marsh Techie, Sour Cream and Chives from Jenova, Rynoet Chikara, Goetia Valefar of Siren, Hersh, Fersh of Faerie, Serren from Zodiark, and the Phoenix Down for Company on Goblin. And then we have our elite sponsors. We have Askin Hawk from Shiva. We have Kraz015, Oscar, Mustang, the Serenity FC on Ultros, Kiryoshi and the Reckless Tea Party FC on, and I have the see it's listed in one place on Cactar. There we go. Kakazuma, Valestra of Famfrit, Noctis, Cordis of Excalibur, Ignis Fairgun from Diablos, Corvus Moonscar, Nakaniami of Balmung, Johnny Odin of Tonberry, Spike, Rudy Rudiger, Private Mikey, Aqua Sacrifice, Nighting Kurosama, Killer Hackman, Raul Jr., Killtastic Jones, Arthur Emil, Gaming Bishop, and Tin Colossus. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Again, if your name wasn't on that list, be sure to send me a message if you're someone who qualifies for the State of the Realm shoutouts. And make sure I don't fuck it up again next week because I've been full of technical difficulties today. And that's just another one to chalk up onto the list. Now, Keo, why don't you tell them where they can find you at if... What the hell happened here? You're going to be able to tell them in a second. I mean, you could just tell them from that screen. But I realize that your your face doesn't scale quite well on the other scene, the scene where it looks good in the box, but it doesn't scale very well in the other thing, so I'm making it scale better. And then your name's also just straight up not this thing doesn't like me today, man. I'm a fucking mess today, Slyh. Slyh, when are you when are you taking over the show, Slyh?
Never.
No, come on. I think you could do this better than me.
No. Good.
All right, so I'll just keep memeing on you then. Keo, where can they find you at?
So you can find me on Twitter at I'm not super active, but I'm definitely watching. There's underscores around my name, so underscore Keonu underscore. You can see it on the screen. Also in game on the Gilgamesh server, I like being talked to. So if you send me a tell, I'll probably say hi. And then the Elysium Discord are the 3 best places to find me.
When he streams, when Ultimate comes out, he's going to stream carrying a bunch of groups, including mine.
Yeah, I do stream sometimes on twitch.tv/Keonu as well.
Yeah, he's pretty damn good to watch. Take it from me. Just believe in me, please. I got words. All right. Anyway, Slyh, where can they find you at? Should they so desire.
You can find me at twitch.tv/Slyh, aka Greyfox. You can find me on Twitter at Slythefox. You can find me on Instagram at Slyh, aka Greyfox07. YouTube.com/The Velvet Room. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And where can they find you?
I wasn't sure. Last week you left me hanging. Last week you left me hanging. So I've got a few things to say. First of all, you can find me Mr. Happy 1227, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Mr. Happy 1227, all the same. 2, I would like to apologize. My beard has gotten so long. I've gotten into the bad habit of combing it, and I was combing it the entire
show.
At one point I just did this, and I just let go, just because I was like, oh, I can do that. And third of all, I'd like to give a special shout out to Keo. Layla tweeted something I think it was like the day after you got World Prog, and it was how much of a pleasure you are to raid with. I think you guys have gotten the idea, but Keo is a goddamn pleasure to raid with, and if you ever have the pleasure of doing so, cherish it. Because you don't know when he'll have to wait till he carries you an ultimate to raid with him again.
Thanks, Habs.
It was a good time. Like
Keo,
I think back to Gordius, and like I remember we all had a lot of fun in that group, except Jan. I don't know if he ever had fun, but it's hard to tell with him whether he was having fun or not. But I look back at those times, and those he said it before the show started. Those are some of my fondest memories, and I was raiding with Keo then. So that's a big love shout out from Daddy Haps. See, Lemon says you saved his raiding life. He's gonna commit raiding Sudoku here. And then you saved him.
Wow.
You saved Lemon Peppa, the world first Susano hard mode from Elysium.
Sounds like I need to raid with Keo now.
You will, and then you won't want to go back to your normal teams. Keo transcends expectations. You're like, oh, well, I remember when Keo did it, and and then there's just like,
No. No.
I just like to raid, man. I just get around a lot.
Yeah. It's only God knows how many ultimate clears you have under your belt.
Enough. I don't have all the weapons yet, though. I still need a few more.
He needs. Well, luckily I'm sure you'll be practicing in there before 4.3 comes out.
Probably.
I don't say. You will.
I mean, we've done that fight to death, but yeah, probably.
Like you haven't done the other fights to death. Just more recently. Listen,
I didn't think I could actually be sick of that instance, but I've done it so much I think I'm actually sick of that instance.
I think as soon as you cleared it in the group that you made for the Hap Legend group, I think that was your tipping point. Because you sounded so happy when we beat it, but I could tell like that was it.
Yeah, that was the breaking point. I was like, I'm done with Ultimate.
That's it. You completed your goal.
A good run.
Yeah, you could be your own ultimate boss one day. That's fine. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to move on over into a short post show so Slyh can get started on his stream in like 5 minutes, and then I can go eat. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again to our sponsors. We'll see you next week to talk about the live letter about Eureka, Slyh. The Eureka live letter is on Saturday, and we're going to be talking about it on the next show because it's coming out.
Keo, thank you for joining us.
Thank you both for inviting me. It was a real pleasure. My first time on the show, too, so thank you so much.
Yeah, and shout out to Layla, whose diss track wasn't complete, so he couldn't come on today. No Taco Bell for you. On that note,
Layla, I got you Taco Bell.
We're going to post show right now. So we'll see you next week for that show about Eureka, Slyh.
See you next week, everyone.